You see, I can be a bit silly, but when Tyler actually,
puts
I
my
can
foot
be,
down.
I can be proper. I have a sense of propriety. It just often escapes me, or otherwise eludes me.
Yeah, then what? Then what's the point in having it? You might as well never have it at that point.
You do need it
Be
for
a
some things, though. You need it for some
whimsical
things.
being.
The more important things than this.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more. There's nothing less important.
Then a Barrel Vision podcast. Welcome all.
That's not what I was saying. I meant nothing less important than Starfield.
Right. So are we really just gonna go straight in because
No.
there's no other news to talk about?
Is
Really?
there?
There's not. As far as Deep Rock news, I know for a fact there ain't nothing there.
Well, I mean, because of the way that works, in the sense of there never really being anything, it's like we don't even really have to bring it up if the podcast isn't about it. So I don't know why you did that.
The only real time where we would need to bring it up, because otherwise it would be the topic of the podcast.
Maybe this Thursday when this releases, and so does the roadmap. Wouldn't that be nice?
If it's tomorrow when you're gone, it will just appear.
Oh my god!
Now I'm sure they'll make a big kick and fuss about it, or not release it at all. I think that is actually on the table.
Yeah, we'll get through season 5, and they'll drop the roadmap next anniversary stream after season 5. That's when it's going to happen.
Season 5 roadmap in season 5. I like it.
That would be awesome.
But
awful.
I don't think it is. But speaking of roadmaps, it's not relevant.
No.
Yeah, Starfield. Not many roads in there. At least not ones you can drive on, because there's no land vehicles.
Not many maps either. I mean, I would say it's not very map oriented. When I think of maps, I think of parchment, and I can say for certain there's not much parchment in Starfield. Unless there is.
I would be surprised.
No, there's paper. There's certainly no parchment. There's a difference.
I think
there's pens. There might be pens, but there's no ink quills. There's no feathers dipped in ink.
I was thinking earlier, like what actually does Bethesda have, right? Because with Deep Rock as an example, we know that as far as polish and quality goes, it's kind of there most of the time. Quality more than polish. Polish takes them a little bit longer. Like obviously the Stingtail is a bit squiffy with sending people to the rooftop, but generally those two are pretty solid. And normally quantity was a thing, but that's fallen slightly less so with updates. And so I was thinking at it like that kind of angle with Bethesda's work and what I would assume going into Starfield. And I think Bethesda just specs 100% into quantity. That's just what they do, right? Like with Skyrim, it was a buggy mess with no real skills, no real weapons, no real diversity. All of that stuff's not really there. The stories in it are absolute dog ass, right? They most of them are the most generic, terrible shit ever. If anyone ever looks me in the eyes and says that they like the Mage's College questline, I will punch them in the balls, right? But
what if I looked you in the balls, and then would you punch me in the eyes?
Yeah, I'd grab both fists and I'd sucker punch both of your eyes individually.
It is quantity, but it's not frequency though. It's just quantity.
No,
it's quantity in the games themselves, and it's the only what Bethesda has neither. They have neither frequency nor polish. Nor depth, but they do. Well, they arguably have. I was sort of being a bit evasive about that because I think that is more subjective.
How many good questions?
That's why I said depth. I think there is a quality to the gameplay experience. Otherwise, people wouldn't play these things. But there's not much depth, certainly. I guess you could say the quality of the writing. It's about the stories that you make along the way, isn't it, Todd? Because he's looking at us right now. I mean, this might be the most terrifying visual I've ever had on any video. It's completely normal, except there's a translucent giant Todd Howard head, like symmetrical head, just overlaid over us. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
he's just watching us, making sure that we don't slip up, and say that he's a liar or anything like that.
No, I don't expect him to be a liar at all. I expect Starfield to work seamlessly and be a constant fuel of really good content.
So, okay, well, on the subject of technical incompetence could be used, but I guess shut up, Mitchell. Lack of technical integrity. It was who is it? It's one of the heads of Xbox, Matt Booty, which is a brilliant name. Do you want to know why I think that's a brilliant name? It's a brilliant name because you know that the guy who is like the head of Xbox, called Matt Booty, is one of the most confident people in the world. To get there with that name, my God, that's respect. Also, you know what? It's funny, but I think it's kind of cool when people have names like that for some reason. I don't know, it's something about it I kind of like. Don't dwell on that, please. But he said something about that I found quite believable, even though it could easily not be true. But it was about how, like, stuff that he's seen of Starfield includes something like an actual bug count, right? A count of all the bugs in the game. And I'm not talking aliens, right? I'm talking bugs. We're not bugs are. And he said that it is the lowest number that they've ever had. It's like, okay, that's quite believably worded, you know?
It might
That's
not be in the triple digits. Like, it might not be. Because, I mean, bear in mind, I mean, Fallout 76, that actually had a video go up with all of the bugs, and I can't remember the exact number.
Was it 76,000?
No, I think it was way more than that.
Yeah, Fallout 76, the most recent game by Bethesda, which they don't acknowledge, obviously. Because it was, I mean, as far as I know, it was only partially developed by them anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that. Then when they were like doing like a panning of all of their games that they released, like before they actually like showed Fallout 76, it was there, but they like cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think everyone knows that Fallout 76, not Fallout 76, Jesus. Starfield is going to have bugs, and a fair amount of them. Let's be realistic. Like anyone that thinks that it won't is a fool. Like just a complete like corporate suck off. But I think that's just a baseline. Everyone should know that going into it. But I do think some people might be getting a bit too excited. Still, like from what I can tell, I think people genuinely think the game is going to be really, really good. Like, I don't know if you saw the meme where it was like had like Morrowind and it like saved gaming in 2000, and then it had actually I think it might be Oblivion, and it was like Skyrim, and it was like saved gaming in 2010, and now they have like Starfield and it's like saved gaming in 2020, or like the 2020s, and I just can't believe that to be the case. I don't think we reside in a universe where Starfield is going to be the best game made, like even this year, right? Like I don't know how someone can post that when Baldur's Gate has come out, and obviously we've still yet to play it, but I don't think I've heard anyone shit on it, just complain about it being too good, if anything. And I genuinely don't know where people get their faith in Bethesda from, because it's not from the products they make, because they do not instill faith.
It is such a paradox. I don't even know if paradox is the right word. It's such a conundrum. I genuinely don't know how to pinpoint or even begin to pinpoint the root of like the actual love for Bethesda as a developer. It is so thoroughly confusing. I mean, I don't even know if you could call either of us a Bethesda fan. That's something we should probably touch on.
I wouldn't say I'm a Bethesda fan, but obviously I played a lot of their games.
Yeah, I think you've played more of them than me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I played Skyrim less than you, but still, probably done everything at least twice. You've done them all probably like 5 times. I've tried playing Oblivion, and Morrowind. Didn't get very far through them though. As far as the Fallouts, I've played a fair bit of.
Exactly. You have finished Fallout 4, right? Oh no, you
No,
didn't. No,
actually.
no, 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 no. That's the thing.
Um,
So, am I correct in saying the only actual one you've finished is well, I guess it would be Fallout New Vegas and Skyrim, I guess, if you would call
yeah,
that
pretty much.
finished, which does give you a bigger number than me because it's just Skyrim, and it's a lot of Skyrim.
And
And
it's
I
only
saw
modded Skyrim as well.
no, no,
No, oh, I guess the 360 actually. Yeah, fair enough.
yeah, hands off.
Forget the
That's why it's
internet.
only modded Skyrim because I already experienced the original, and I was just like, well, I'm not gonna play it again without mods, am I? I'm not a fucking bozo who doesn't play with mods when they're given to me like a gift from the gods. Okay, I think I've just pinpointed the problem. I just pinpointed. Things like putting mods on console or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think what it is actually is something that they do allows he's muted himself. Something
Shouting at Mitchell.
good. That fucker needs to shut the fucker up.
That's exactly what I said.
Great. No, I just I don't know what this is. This still isn't the root of it, but I think it is something that whatever they do, it somehow makes it so that people are able to ignore all of the bad, which doesn't means you just don't need much good. But somehow, all the bad gets pushed out because it's just like because it's I guess because it's just part of it.
Yeah,
The
I don't
bad
know.
aspects are almost seen as tradition. That's what a big thing about Bethesda. Like the bugs, it's almost seen as tradition to a lot of people.
Yeah. I think that that's kind of what it is because even though I would say that Fallout 4 is a less than great game, like it's not the best thing I've ever played in the world. I still spent a solid amount of time on it. And obviously, yeah, Skyrim without mods is pretty fucking barren as far as, well, obviously not number of things to do, but number of ways to do it, essentially, and reasons to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I try and sometimes say it's not that bad until I realise I can't remember the last time I wore a set of armour that wasn't at least influenced by a mod. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I used a spell that wasn't from a mod. I do not use vanilla spells. Except the Conjure Flaming Familiar, because that actually is a vanilla spell, Tyler. So, yeah.
Right.
Focus on you, shithead.
Vanilla spells are better than I thought they were, but still, obviously, not as good as the mod ones tend to be. But then the mod ones get a bit more like, it's like Fireball, but it bounces. It's different. Use it. And I'm like, I'm right, thanks. But that's slightly irrelevant.
Well, some of them go a bit too far. Well, no, because there was something about magic. I wasn't actually watching the video at the time. We watched we took a refresher course on Starfield before doing this.
Yeah.
Sir Swag's most recent video, and we sort of sped it up double speed and also skipped over big parts of it. Yeah, I heard something about magic. I wasn't looking at it at the time though. What the hell was that? Was that anything?
Well, there is like some sort of power, I think, like to do with the relic, like the gravity stuff. You do see he puts out his hand and there's like a slow mo as all the enemies get flown back.
So it is Mass Effect magic. It's just...
Probably, yeah.
Or that take. I guess it's not exactly magic.
Yeah. I think it is definitely interesting how Starfield is going to compete with the already determined space games, because space games have been done pretty damn well, I would say. Because I have been playing Mass Effect recently.
As you discovered only just now for the first time.
Yeah. Well, no, obviously, I mean, and No Man's Sky is the other example I'd go with, which I played for longer and for a while now.
Yeah, I reckon you really could. I mean, it sounds trivial because you could definitely do this for pretty much every game. But I do kind of like the idea of distilling a game down to all of the other games that if you blended them together, you would get that game. So for Starfield, if you blended together No Man's Sky and Mass Effect and Fallout, then you'd get Starfield.
Yeah, I guess. But it's just because, yeah, like I don't know. A lot of it reads to me like a lot of No Man's Sky. Like the mining system with the beam, that feels pretty No Man's
It was
Sky.
pretty escort
Uh,
duty. It was pretty...
the space combat feels kind of No Man's Sky. It seems to have been a step above, but No Man's Sky has actually taken that step as well, as I mentioned. Like the whole like putting power in certain parts of the ship to like make it stronger, like adding a bit more playability of space combat is something No Man's Sky's now added.
If
Like
there is
just before Starfield came out.
if there is some kind of way to at least get across the sensation of like sort of being in space combat and like diverting power, for example, like, you know, it's like diverting all the power from like your shields or something to the
Receiving
thrusters to get...
shots.
Well, no. It's like divert all power from shields to like the thrusters so you can get away quicker or something. Or the other way around,
Yeah.
divert all power to shields so you can just lock down and like stalemate enemies. If that sensation, if that at least you can get the feeling like you're doing something like that, then that's space combat is one thing. Except it's not, because I played Chorus. So good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
That game,
Well, exactly, yeah.
that game is literally just an exercise in perfecting space combat in video games. So, yeah, good luck. I mean, it's a bit different though, because it's more about like you're literally in your house at the same time. It's a bit different.
Well, I think your ship's supposed to be like that. You know, you know, you got like you're gonna be able to build rooms and that. But I don't know. I think hopefully it's not as shallow as Bethesda's combat tends to be. I mean, it looks probably like it's going to be the most interesting, unless it ends up being a bit of a stealth archer situation where if you put like enough fuel, like half of your energy into shields, nothing can kill you, and then you can just like put the other half into attack, and so you don't have to do anything else. Like as long as no one discovers a very blatant and easy meta, it could actually be interesting, which is unlike Bethesda in combat.
Well, I suppose you could make an assertion that it's already doing something beyond the other any other Bethesda game, which is having two separate modes of combat, like
Yeah.
essentially. Like it's well, it is the difference between on foot and vehicle combat. Obviously, in this case, vehicle combat is entirely limited to being in a spaceship. It's basically space combat and ground combat, I guess, are the two separate. And you could immediately make the assertion that that equals more depth, but obviously it doesn't equal more depth. In fact, it could equal less depth because it could equal two separate combat systems sharing the same load, which could make them both worse in comparison. But it doesn't look less in either capacity.
As far as it looks like, combat with weapons on the ground is at least or slightly better than Fallout, right? Like it's gonna at least be just shooting an enemy until they die, but will probably also be like, you know, jetpacks, gravity, like all that kind of stuff. So it's probably gonna be a step above Fallout. In its being, I don't know, just interesting more often than not, like the situations you're in. And then obviously, yeah, space combat is they haven't even done normal vehicle combat, right? Like
no,
the closest you can get. Can you attack on a horse? You can't, right? Your horse can attack, but not with you on it.
Yeah, you can attack on a horse. What the hell is going on? Why is there so much sound from your abode? Is it?
Is there?
Yeah, there's so much. I can hear everything.
It doesn't even show that I'm green, other than when I'm talking.
Yeah, because it's not that it only shows up when you're talking.
Right, that'll do it. Well, I went downstairs to avoid Mitchell, but the cats are here and they've got their toys, so that might not have helped.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is why because you're not actually using your mic, are you?
That would only make it worse. It's only more sensitive.
Oh, fucking hell.
It would pick it all up when I'm not talking.
Oh, dear. Well, yeah, okay, whatever. Whatever. All right, whatever. I'm sure it's fine. It's not great. Well, no, because I don't think there's vehicle... Yeah, you can attack on a horse, by the way, in Skyrim, but there's no vehicle combat in Fallout, though, is there? There's nothing like that. I mean, no. The closest is, like, I guess...
But that doesn't count.
Dragon... the riding the dragons was fucking... I haven't done that in years, because it's just the worst thing in the world, so don't do it. So, yeah, it kind of comes across to me like they're still trying to avoid doing vehicle combat, right? It's just entirely limited to spaceships.
Yeah, because they don't have vehicles, as I mentioned at the very beginning.
Now, they've got mechs that you can see, ruins of mechs, like old mechs that don't work.
Yeah.
You know, to, to make your
no mech
balls
for you.
even more blue if you're into that.
Well, I think, and this is something that they would say. I'm not sure as defense or just generally, but like the modded community is going to add a mech probably give it within a month. I would imagine, especially if there is like a mech model already in the game, that's probably going to occur pretty soon.
Yeah, I did not hear any word about this, like the sort of where modding's at though.
They, yeah, I've not heard that they're clearly doing it. That much is known. Like, because in the video he mentioned that in their response to like how some planets are going to be fairly empty, that's basically them giving modders a planet to work on essentially. That was their comment on that apparently.
But I am talking about console.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but
now,
if they genuinely want, like, if they genuinely see modding as being part of the game experience, and arguably console is the main way to experience it, they're not going to add console modding. But obviously on launch, no words on that, right?
No, exactly. That's what I mean. I feel like I haven't heard anything. Right? I feel like I haven't heard confirmation on any front. It's just the acknowledgement of modding as a concept, basically. But it hasn't been like, oh, it's hasn't been like, oh, of course PC will be able to do it, but console not, or any kind of no specification. I feel like I haven't heard any specification whatsoever, other than the mere acknowledgement of the concept. That's
Definitely,
what it feels like.
Modding on console wasn't like Skyrim didn't have mods on console like immediately, right?
No, I mean it came with the special edition, which is just a 5-year anniversary. It was 2016, which was the generation jump edition that was for Xbox One and PS4, and obviously that's actually been around longer than Skyrim has technically. Like as in that's older than Skyrim was at the time that came out, which is weird. So we've had it for longer than not, modding on console longer than not, which is pretty scary. But it's Skyrim is a phenomenon. But I'm going to be honest, it would not be still selling on consoles if it didn't have modding. I think that's probably true, really, because it's nowhere near as custom. Like GTA Online is still huge, yeah, but it doesn't have modding, but it still gets updates and it still has community created content. You wouldn't get that from Skyrim if it didn't have modding. So I feel like that is the reason why it's still thriving on consoles specifically, and it sort of held it up. Especially because it has, like I said, we've had it on consoles longer than not. So that is incredibly important. At the same time, I want to experience the game as it is anyway first, so I don't need modding. I mean, that's, I'm only really interested in mods for games if it's a game that I know very, very well already. I can't really do it any other way. Even then, Terraria is like another big one, especially because of how much they support it. But I can't really even do that. It's really just Skyrim, because Skyrim needs it more than most games, maybe. Terraria not so much. So yeah, I mean, I'm not bothered about it, but it's still weird to me, the lack of clarification. I guess they could just be riding on people knowing that it probably won't have console modding on launch, which is what I would expect. By the way, that's what I expect.
Yeah. Well, I've just been researching into it a little bit. Like it wasn't that. Because obviously I don't think they've mentioned that. But Fallout 4 didn't release with mods. It launched on like console. It launched on November 10th, 2015, with no mods on console, and it took them until June 1st to add mods to the console version, which I don't know. I think that's worth saying essentially, because I think they probably could have released Fallout with mods if they wanted to, but it might have taken them longer because they didn't need to either, though. So if they don't have mods on there at launch, we could be looking at them within March to June, so probably about a year, maybe, which would be less than pleasant, especially if they really do intend to mods to carry some of the planets. But yeah. I think that's just the only real example we can use to try and guess whether or not it would have mods. In that Fallout 4 didn't do that for like a year.
God, if all that sound is your cats, that's impressive that such small creatures can create what sounds like a like an actual blitz. Um,
Doesn't make any sense.
darn impressive. Seriously. It's honestly, it feels like they're like clambering on top of like a microphone if you were using one. That's what it sounds like to me. It's madness.
Alright, I'll go back in my room then, see if that does anything.
What?
But,
What do you mean by that?
I told you I was downstairs to avoid Mitchell.
What the fuck? Oh, okay. Whatever. Right. Rack your brain.
With what?
Anything. Anything. Oh, right. I mean, I want to go back to like the very original announcement, I think, because Starfield was announced in 2018. That's a long time. That's 5 years now, which actually doesn't seem that insane now that I think about it.
They mentioned it spent like 8 years on it. I think I remember them mentioning that in a video I saw.
All right, that's immediately worse. It's immediately worse. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, so they've been working on it for about 8 years, which implies something, right?
Yeah, even though
Not
it
sure
seems
what
to
that
be
is.
pretty exclusively manufactured for current gen hardware. Actually, it is exclusive, isn't it? Right? It's not available on Xbox One, is it?
I don't think they reverse do stuff like that anymore, really.
No, so they've been making it with, I guess, that means they must have been developing it with, like, prospective specs, like, on hand, like, theoretical specs.
8 years. When did they buy Bethesda? That was only a year or two ago, right?
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago at all. But it would still be, like, the theoretical specs of now. I assume that they would have some kind of estimate as to when the game's going to come out. Or maybe not when it's going to... I think there's a difference between how long it's going to take and when it's going to come out. Like, how long it's going to take for Starfield to be anything. Be like, oh, it's going to be at least 5 years. It's like, okay, it'll probably be, like, around this point by then. They probably didn't imagine it coming out any earlier than 2020. I mean, or at least, that's probably only when it started to really become an actual tangible anything.
Yeah.
So that would already be in the Series X era, I think. Was Series X is 2020?
I also think it's worth mentioning something that I think we forget. It's launching with only 30 frames per second. It's doing a Redfall, and no one seems to care. With Redfall, it was like, oh yeah, this game's guaranteed dog shit. Like that was like everyone knew it. Yet for some reason, people just ignored that Starfield's also doing it.
Yeah, because that was clearly not the reason. Like, it's because it's clearly for two completely different reasons. I do think it's interesting, because in my opinion, it is bad. In my opinion, there is no reason for that. I do not understand. Like, this is going to get very controversial very quickly. I do not understand not implementing like basically accessibility options. Right, so I understand that the entire point of a game like Dark Souls is to be a fucking difficult, horrible experience, right? Or Elden Ring. First of all, the Elden Ring pause thing. There's no argument for that. If you think that's okay, you're an idiot. But I mean, difficulty-wise, I don't care to play them, and I'm not going to play them even if they were easy. But that should still be a thing, in my opinion. And you can just have the knowledge that you didn't complete the game in the way it was originally intended. That's fine, in my opinion. As long as you know that you played it on a much easier version than what it's supposed to be. Much like with them trying to retain like the visual fidelity, when I care about performance far more than visuals anyway. The game should be artistically designed well enough that it can convey at least the tone that it's trying to convey with its visuals without having them be like 100% resolution. It should like the actual like the art design and aesthetic of the game should be clear enough. It doesn't require the very highest resolution or texture fidelity and all these things. Because it's only going to be hurt. I don't want to be seeing more detail slower than normal than I'm used to. In my opinion, that's just worse. That's gonna probably feel pretty gross. Although the footage, the thing is, I don't know if the footage we've been seeing was in 30 FPS or not. It didn't feel like 60 though.
Could have been 60. I mean, if it was recorded on, actually no, most of the showcase was on like console. I think that was generally all right, because like there were like the buttons you could see.
Yeah, but as far as I know, the argument is from a like creative integrity standpoint, where they want it to be experienced in this way, where the visuals are prioritized, and it's like, okay, I understand that. As in, I understand that, so I know that I'm sort of sacrificing the integrity a little bit by, you know, activating performance mode or something. I don't care. I just want it to be. I don't care. I know what I'm doing. I'm very aware of the fact that I might be making it less like what they intend by switching on performance mode.
No, I'm sorry, but they should never intend for 30 frames per second. 60 frames per second.
They didn't, but they had to preserve the visual quality. Like,
but they're gonna do it like as soon as they can, right? Like they don't intend for it to be a permanent 30.
I don't know. Maybe they do. I mean, probably not.
I don't think they did.
But it's like it's about like the quality of the image, right? But as in like at a standstill, basically. It's like looks the best it can. But that doesn't make sense to me. Games are always in motion. It needs to look good in motion, and this.
I turned down graphics like 5 times, and I wouldn't be able to tell if I was shitting my fucking TV.
Like, well, exactly. Some people don't have the monitors.
Anything.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like it's the people that care about the graphics would also care about frame rate as well, right? They want a beautiful, seamless, smooth experience, and you're only giving them like half of that. You're pleasing no one, essentially. I think more people will get pissed over the shitty frame rate than bad graphics. I think that might be fair. That like the stutter and the visual headache that is, you know, whatever frame rate is ass, right? Than just slightly worse graphics. I think more people would put up with the worst graphics.
I'm just going to have to assume it's going to be bearable still, because look, we used to play games at 30 all the time, well, even lower in a lot of cases.
What was Tectonica on? The new change, because that was fucking miserable before you like changed.
Well, I wonder if that option's in there in Starfield, whatever the fuck VSync even is. And I just turned it off, and suddenly it just got so much smoother. I mean, it sounded like some kind of, you know, VSync, some kind of synchronization feature, but it didn't feel like it didn't feel like anything got worse about it. You know, it just smoothed out, and it was beautiful. Before that, probably less than 30, I think.
Yeah.
So
thinking more like Deep Rock Swarm on Xbox One.
Oh boy, that's the opposite of what you want.
Yeah. Which I guess, you know, if it's not noticeable, it's not the end of the world, but like you really shouldn't be doing it. That should be the last case scenario.
I think the strategy was to get that out of the way fairly early on, and now it's just settled. Like no one cares about that fact anymore.
Redfall waited till like the very last second to like slip that under the rug. Like and we're going to be 30 frames per second.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I mentioned I think it for different reasons as well. I think Redfall is a completely different case where one of the reasons why Starfield is so taxing is because it is fucking huge, and it's taking full advantage of like current gen as well. And it's in games that would take advantage, you know, games that, for example, pushed the 360 or the Xbox One to the limits wouldn't have been 60. They probably would have been 30 as well. This is basically the same kind of thing. It's one of the first games I think developed exclusively for this generation as well. Which means it's actually somehow, despite being the most powerful console in the world, is actually pushing the Series X to its limits.
Wasn't Halo that?
What?
Halo Infinite, wasn't that?
No, but it was still developed. No, it was meant to be a flagship for the Series X, but it was still developed with them in mind that it was going to be on Xbox One as well. Yeah. This is exclusive. This is I think this is the first game that is completely exclusive to this generation of consoles. And that was what I heard as being one of the major reasons why it's so taxing on the console. And also Redfall was was a worse time being made. It just had a far worse development. It was just broken. I don't. It's not like an actual like gap in like the game's technical integrity that Starfield is capped at 30. It's sort of another thing. But then you said that it's surely they can't intend it to be permanent. I mean, I haven't heard them talk about it. I mean, I haven't heard much. I haven't actually watched that much, to be fair.
I mean, I think the statement is that it will launch with 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
Which I think implies, and I think I don't think it should just imply like. I'm sorry, 60 frames per second is not even that much in the grand scheme of things, right? Like you're getting motherfuckers on PC with like 240 or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's just unnecessary. I mean,
it is unnecessary. But ultimately, 60 frames per second is very quickly becoming the bare minimum.
I don't know if I'm just a troglodyte who's just like does just stuck in 16, doesn't see need to go beyond it because I haven't experienced higher. But I genuinely don't see why you need to go higher than 60. I just don't think there's any point in that. Your eyes can't really even process it, to be honest. Certainly at 240. I mean, I must say I have noticed a difference between 60 and 120. Although actually, I don't even know when what experience that was when I saw that. I don't remember, but I swear I have seen 120. But it's just not really needed. I mean, but that's the thing, isn't it? That's a thing. Higher than 60 is a thing, and it's not even that unheard of. It's actually fairly common now. And, for some reason, I mean, what confuses me is that I still assume that the Series X is meant to be more powerful than most, like, PCs at the same price, or pretty much all PCs certainly at the same price, even now. So I would hope that it would not really be able to go much far over 30 on PCs that are a similar price to the Series X. I hope, and this is a bit like dragging them down with a sort of mentality, and it is. But I would hope that the only ones who are really getting like 60 and above are like the thousands of pounds or dollars PCs.
I don't know what that means, but like the video mentioned that it like needs certain technology, that you need an SSD, which I think is somewhat standard. Well, it's not like standard, but like I think some people you could like opt out. And have like a different type of.
I was about to correct you and say it's a solid state drive, and then I realised.
What? You don't know what that means?
No, I realised that is an SSD, Tyler.
Yeah.
Because that sounded a lot more. That sounded a lot more new than SSD. I just assumed an SSD was something SD, like SD card, with something else added on the beginning.
Well, I think it is similar to an SD card.
Maybe hold on. Okay, now I'm going to really need to look. Okay, hold on. SD card. Oh, secure digital. Okay, because I thought if that's state drive, then I'm going to fucking have a fit. I'm going to.
Yeah. But I don't know. So basically, like even PCs, like they need to, I mean, like it's been a point as well that they publish the hardware you need for the PC. Like it does seem like it's going to be one hell of a game to like just get running, and it was almost too much for the latest gen of console, and I don't know what that means. Like if that bodes really ill, or it means that it's only really going to go up from there. Like they're basically maxing out, and they just need to kind of like cut on some of the bullshit. Right, and then
console power is like an aspect of the gaming industry that is pretty consistently on an upward trend. It actually is. That's something that's not really lagging behind at all. In fact, it's more so been catching up with like the Series X, for example, being better than a lot of PCs. That kind of thing, I think, is only going to get better. Actually, a lot of other stuff isn't getting better. But that's the thing. There is sort of a view of Bethesda games as sort of being quite trashy, I guess. I feel like you know what I mean by that. But it's kind of hard to explain because I don't think there's many other games that get that sort of rep in the genre, really. Trashy is sort of like what immediately comes to mind is like all of the sort of very greedy live service type ordeals that we've been experiencing recently. And honestly, I get the feeling that a lot of people see Bethesda games through that same light, even though when you look at something like Starfield, it is in a lot of ways a pretty pure game, as far as I can tell.
Then you look at Fallout 76, and
Yeah,
it's
that's the
anything
thing.
but.
Fallout 76 does exist, and it's like one of the worst examples of that. That's the
Yeah, like,
thing.
it wasn't just the launch. I assume you know about like the premium pass
Yes,
that
I'm
they added
aware
to
of
like
pretty much
premium
everything
upper.
that's wrong with like
And
76 in that
yeah,
department. It's pretty
and they even
terrible.
started doing that pretty early on. Fallout 4, you remember they released the Pit Boys that came out with it. And they like a lot of shit went down because those things like you spend a ton more money to get the super version with the Pit Boy, and those things are absolute dog shit.
Yeah,
Like some
it.
of the most cheaply made like rip-offs essentially out there. Um,
Mm.
it seems like I think Bethesda is like well intentioned, but kind of like not that morally good.
Yeah,
Um,
honestly, that's because that's what I was going to sort of say if you took too long to finish the sentence. It's kind of like I think yeah, I do think they are actually are a remnant of a pretty upstanding era of making games, but they still succumb to the corruption somewhat.
a bit of an anti-hero
Yeah,
in the gaming genre.
yeah, it
Like
does feel appropriate actually. It's like
they do try and like put out good games, but they don't do it in the best way.
exactly. I
Like,
mean, you have to acknowledge that though, because that's the only reason why they take so long, right? You know, you don't
yeah,
you don't get this with like Activision, like Call of Duty pumping them out every year. That's the entire point of that. It's just to be a money making machine, not to make games that have true actual artistic vision or any kind of direction behind them. You don't, as in, if games take this long, if a developer takes this amount of time, gives themselves this much time, it's because they're doing it the actual way they want to do it with actual creative direction and integrity.
yeah,
At
and I
least,
think
at least in the
Bethesda
game
cares.
itself. But there's still, there's still aspects. There is lying. they do lie a lot. It's true, and there are some other weird practice. Like for
I,
example, paid mods in Skyrim, like the Creation Club stuff, sort of coming around, and most of it being pretty bad as well. It's like
the
things
thing
like that.
is that I do wonder about this in Starfield. Is I'm not sure if we're going to see an uptick in that stuff or a downtick because everybody who's playing Starfield on Xbox is getting it for free, right?
Yeah,
Essentially, like it's really only going to be people on console, and even then, if they own an Xbox or own the Game Pass, they can play it on their PC. Like essentially, it is I would equate a free to play game for a solid amount of people. Like 80 to maybe 70% of people that would have gotten Starfield did not have to pay for it anymore. And there's probably still some people that bought the Super Edition, especially to get early access, but um, and because they're Bethesda cocks and they'll give them as much money as they can. But and I think that I wonder if that basically is that Microsoft is more than willing to pump all the money it would need into Bethesda, and they essentially don't even need to sell the game to make enough money, right? They don't need money. They're in such a position with Microsoft, and like that could very much be a thing because I imagine Microsoft will make a lot of money because Game Pass sales are probably going to go up a lot because a lot of people want to play Starfield, and instead of paying the 70 quid, 80 quid, 100 quid, I'm not sure if it actually got that high, but yeah, that. Um, they could just pay a tenner, right? they could just spend like £10 or whatever it would be in America, like job done. So Microsoft making money, and Microsoft will give Bethesda an infinite amount of money, which begs the question: will Bethesda do that scummy, cheap, shitty store?
Hmm.
Do they
But
need to
what
do
could
it?
even be in it? What could that even do in game?
Oh, like
Actual items.
helmet cosmetics, armor cosmetics, companion cosmetics, house cosmetics, like things to put in your house, things to put in your ships, ship parts, like any of that stuff. I think you could be seeing appear. Um, like maybe like or base components, right? Like if you want like a really big glass dome, maybe you'd buy that.
I mean, as far as I can
Um,
tell, because we've seen like the menu. I don't think there's a store. So
no, not you yet to see them, but you don't normally see that in game, do you? You would see that either on the pause menu, which you've yet to see, or the well, not the pause menu, but like the main menu,
yeah, we have
and
seen
obviously
that.
the
The
what
start
like
menu, the main menu.
where you would pick your skills on that. But that's a
No,
different
the
menu.
main menu is when you start a game.
Yeah,
You just start a game
when
up.
we see that.
What?
You've seen them have like that menu where you would then click like new game or
Yes.
some shit. Alright.
I mean, I should probably look at it now.
Might be worth looking at. But even then, if I were them, I wouldn't put my store on there. If you were going to add a store, you wouldn't want that to be known before going into the game.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it, but yeah. Wow. There you go.
You know, then that might be leaning towards they didn't do the scummy stuff because they don't need the money. Because that is the interesting part, I think. Like, this is the first time Bethesda really doesn't need the money, right? Like, they're being funded by Microsoft. And Microsoft, I'm assuming, like Bethesda and Starfield is the biggest thing going for them right now, right? Halo Infinite was that, but we saw all that that went. And now Bethesda's really the fallback, and you can tell how hard it's being pushed, how many ads of that Starfield I'm seeing, probably because I've shown interest in it, but also, you know, they're still putting those ads out there. And it took up such a big amount of Gamescom. Like, Microsoft / Xbox / Bethesda are pushing Starfield so hard.
Yeah.
And so, you know, maybe they hope to just make enough money from just people playing Xbox and getting Xboxes and getting Game Pass and playing the game instead of a store. Or, you know, hope that they buy like the better editions because they care about the game.
Well, there is a premium upgrade, which is just to make sure you get the DLC, basically.
Yeah, there is already a DLC plan, which I don't like that as a business practice, to be honest with you. And that's like more than just Starfield. I don't like them releasing a game knowing damn well what the next DLC is, because it's essentially saying that we could have added this to the game, but now it's DLC. Like, I'm like, okay, cool. You already have like a story and gameplay, and I assume a bunch of stuff are there, but you just decided to not add it. Probably not finished, but they didn't need to finish it because it's DLC. That's not the point. I mean, it's kind of the point, but
well, it means it means. Shut up. It means they can release a game, not unfinished, but still technically not technically, but still in a way missing parts. As in, you know, I don't know how this stuff actually works. I am grasping at straws here, but I can imagine. So, you know, they've already started making the DLC, probably even quite a while ago. But it's just like it maybe even stuff that they realised they weren't on track to finish before the release date that they wanted. So it's just like, well, we don't actually have to delay the game. We can just cut the content out until we finished it. I get. I feel like that might be how this DLC could work to a certain extent. Where it's just like we were already making this, but we're just not going to implement it until it's done.
That is a thing that like companies do and have been doing a lot recently, but not really for DLCs inherently. Just all of the really shitty like games.
The practice of releasing a broken game and then fixing it later. I mean, you think about it, Bethesda's been doing that for years. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
And sometimes they don't even bother coming back to fix it. Right?
They just let the fans fix it. Let the players fix it.
Yeah.
The Starfield official patch.
It's just I don't
unofficial.
know.
Sorry.
I don't understand how in an age where so many players like every goddamn like couple months a new game comes out which is like just evil in how bad it is, straight up evil in how bad. I don't know how those exact same people that have been burned so many times and are so like doomer about games, saying that games are dying, there's no such thing, like they're like it's a good game, like, you know, only indie games are good, and like all that kind of people.
Well, there's a lot of people who say that, and they don't, like, they're just not aware of indie games. They're just like, oh, it's like no good games anymore because all they look at is AAA. There's a lot of people like that.
And I don't know how it's people like that are turning around and getting hyped for Starfield. Like, I genuinely hope Starfield is good, but I do not expect it to be.
Well, yeah, we could just talk about our sort of actual expectations, or, you know, hype level. Quite, because I know where I stand pretty strongly. I know where I stand pretty strongly, and it's a very, very flat, sort of literally in every aspect of it. It's just very flat intrigue. That's where I stand. I am simply interested in Starfield, you know, on every front. I am interested in playing it to see if it is good, I am interested in the response to it. I'm interested in pretty much every aspect of it, but I cannot say that I am straightforwardly excited either. I don't have expectations that I'm going to enjoy it. That's not how I'm approaching it at all. I'm simply intrigued and waiting patiently to experience it. And I'm open to whatever experience it's going to be. If it's shit, then it's shit. I wasn't expecting it not to be. If it's good, then that's great because then it exceeds my expectations because I'm not expecting anything. So it's really just the perfect place to be in. It's really
Yeah. Well, I expect it to be shit. I expect it to be broken and mainly broken, just most of it broken, where you won't get through the tutorial without a glitch. And then I expect there to be a lot of time where you don't really do anything and it's ultimately empty content where you just have to shoot a bunch of people, which is like mildly satisfying at best for the first couple of times and then grows to nothing almost immediately. And then you do that for like a really terrible like clan of people, whatever they are, like groups, with characters you don't really give a single shit about that have no real personality other than a simple trait. And then eventually you'll do a bunch of monotonous quests and realize you've accidentally beaten the main quest. And then cool. And that's what I'm expecting. And I don't think I'm going to be disappointed with that because I think that's what they've always done. It's what they're good at. Adding a bunch of pointless fucking factions, all of which you don't agree with. So you just pick whichever one's convenient and probably pick all of them normally. And then you just shoot things. That's most of the Bethesda's games. So I'm expecting that.
I agree with the Thieves Guild.
You don't. You like Brynjolf. That's it.
No, I don't. I didn't even really like him that much.
Yeah. Whatever. I've seen the poster on your wall.
The thing is, I literally don't. I literally avoid him because he's just annoying. It's just like, you've never done it on stage work for that coin you're carrying, lad? It's like, fuck off, Brynjolf. I just don't. I want to. It's fine. I mean, because if you're doing the main quest, if you're doing like a fairly neutral or good character playthrough, you're not going to really engage with that. But you still have to go to Riften and find Esbern. But I know where he is. You don't actually have to talk to Brynjolf. Like Delphine tells you to because she thinks he'll know where Esbern is, but you don't have to. If you know, you know. You can just go there. You can just go and find him. You don't need to talk to anyone. So that's what I do now. I don't need to talk to that fucking asshole Brynjolf. He just walks up to you, like, "Hey, you want to commit crime?" Just like, "No, no, I don't.
No,
leave me alone."
Mum taught me crime is bad.
Yeah, my mum said to tell strangers like to tase strangers like you. Fuck off.
You cast electric because you're.
Well, that guy in Markov, when like the woman's about to get killed by that guy, and then you kill the guy, and he's like, "Oh, you dropped this note." It's like, no, I fucking didn't. It's clearly yours. It's like, what? Huh? I don't know what you're talking about. You fucking asswipe.
I'm so glad he dies. I'm so fucking glad he dies.
Spoiler alert.
You fucking kidding with me, Harry? That game is like what 11 years old now.
Well, I mean, speaking of aspects of Skyrim that I do like a lot of the quest lines that aren't the major factions. I think there's some. That's where a lot of the coolest stuff lies. Or more specifically, in all the little stories that the game just sort of tells. Like, for example, one I experienced the other day, which I have seen before, but I forgot about. And I think it only happens in Soulstorm. There's just a point where you can just come across like just a fire wizard and like an ice wizard just dueling for no apparent reason. They're just going at it, and I'm just wondering if Starfield is going to deliver on that kind of thing because it feels more expansive, but also I get the feeling that discovery is going to be less impactful in Starfield when you can see so much just going into it. It's like space exploration. I feel it almost feels a bit too open.
I think this is something that obviously I didn't mention in my scathing critique of the formula that is Bethesda games, but there is two parts of it that I really do like, and is why I even play them. One of them is the actual like leveling up and character building side, which is something I really like from a lot of games. And holy shit, the cat just jumped on me and tore my fucking chest open. But also those things. Encounters. which obviously that includes essentially, not just those random ones where you bump into a fucking bunch of bounty hunters or some shit that are coming after you, but I mean them, but also not really them, but that's what you expect. But also just the really small quests where you just wander towards a cave and then some schmuck runs up to you and like, hey, I've lost my sword, or hey, help me, or hey, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Any of that stuff. That's the fun shit.
Did you ever do
I
that
think.
guy where it's like he's outside the tomb and it's like his ancestor, it's his family's like ancestral tomb where his entire family has been like buried for generations, and like there's some sorcerer in there like using them as like necromancer fuel, I guess. And it's like, I can't go in. It's like desecrating my family. My aunt went in though. And it's like, what? You let your aunt go in like on her own? It's like, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I
what the
think
fuck?
she turns up dead like almost immediately, right?
No,
Like,
no, 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 no.
no,
I don't even know. I think he might be essential. Every time I've done it, he gets through it, and he's like, "Oh, thank
oh,
you."
not him. The aunt.
Yeah, you find a body. Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember one that the one that it's not really something like that. It's the dragon tomb place, whatever they're called, the barrows, I think. In the village before going up the stairs, where you talk to like the innkeeper,
Oh,
and
I
he's like,
love
"Hey
that.
yo,
Okay, no,
that
no, no,
place
because
is
I can basically run this whole thing through my head. So it's Iverstead
yeah,
is the village, and I think it's Hilgrun's tomb. And there's this guy. Well, they talk about like seeing ghosts and stuff, and it's like you go in and you find this ghost and you kill the ghost, but then he like becomes a normal person because he's got like it's like been making these potions, and it's like the filter of the phantom. And I think I remember like reading his journal. I think he's just like bored or something, and he just decides to start terrorizing this town just by pretend, or he wants to be left alone or something. So he decides to like make something that makes him look like a ghost. It's just funny. And cool. I love that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's stuff like that. And I think like when I watched some stuff on it, I think that's the kind of stuff that they know they do best, and they
Yes.
know that people like that's the grandma ship, right? Like, I don't know if you saw you actually were looking at the video. I assume you were playing Adventure Capitalist. But you may have seen it where they they are basically have been they showed an example of it, which is just a ship with grandma on it, and it has like a voice line of like the grandma like talking to you, and it's just random encounters, I assume in space, but also probably on land as well, of just wacky shit, or not just wacky shit. If it's all wacky, it kind of loses value. But
Yeah, so
you
I mean, I was thinking about cause for some reason, and I guess like you can blame me for actually not watching that video very much, but from what I've seen, it's been giving me the impression that that stuff isn't as present personally because the game mostly looks like to me sort of very just it's sort of like just the really big cities, and also
I
and
think
emptiness. It's like those two. Like, are there dungeons in Starfield? It's basically what I'm asking. I suppose.
well, I think there
Are
are
there
like
other little settlements? Could it like?
from what from what I recall, right, there are places where a thing can spawn, right? Well, that's kind of it. Like you're on a planet, you're in a certain location, and I say if both of us went to that exact same location, which maybe you would have to for like a side quest, a completely different place could be there. Like there's like a myriad of certain types. Like it could be like a raider camp or some shit, or it can be like a mining outpost, right?
Yeah.
Or like some other like a farm. Like any of those things can spawn in that location. And I think that's kind of how they approach some of those type things, those dungeon-esque places, those like caves. I would
If there
also
isn't an
suppose.
abandoned mining outpost that has like that's like infested with like bugs or something, and there's like audio recordings of them like encountering the bugs, I can't play it
Well,
because that's like
yeah, I
essential.
mean,
That's essential sci-fi like like offshoot
I
storytelling.
would say it's essential Bethesda. They do that like every
Every
single one. No
sci-fi series or game will have something like that.
Yeah, I think that's something that I hope as well. I really hope they kind of lose the cap of like enemy types, right? Because normally Bethesda, they're pretty default. Like Skyrim, you got bandits, you got skeletons, you got Draugr, you got like mages. I mean, it's big, but ultimately it's all fairly like pocketed. Like you got like people, which are raiders, mages, like that. You got like vampires or like werewolves, those stuff. and then like the resurrected undead, stuff like that. But in Starfield, they really don't need a cap, right? Like they could do essentially anything. Um, they could have like the thing from the thing be in the cave.
Oh my
right?
god.
You could go to this Antarctic planet and you could literally reenact the thing. And I think if they haven't done that, they're missing out. Where like it's not the 1-to-1, but you go there and there's like 10 people, and like any of them could be the thing, and you have to try and figure out who. Right? If they don't do something like that, it's kind of a waste, especially since they've used the term Easter eggs a lot.
Shut your mouth.
In their like marketing, let's go with, like, they've just described a lot of things as Easter eggs, which essentially I think just means references. Just like any like reference they shove in like some random encounter or just an actual predetermined encounter in a certain area, will sometimes there will be references, and I think I would look forward to seeing a thing one. Not that I've seen the movie, but that's just an example of something like that where I hope they're willing to just make an enemy just for like a thing, just a random like occurrence Easter egg, just have a new enemy and just it only be there.
Right, I can now see what you're saying, because now I'm trying to think of if is anything like that. And I would say actually there is something not too dissimilar. I mean, probably like the werebears from Skyrim, where they're in one location. Like on Farm at like the top of the hill, it's like a little, not really even a cave, it's just like an overhang of a cliff, and they live underneath it. And they're just people, and they're just like just go away, basically. Because they're all werebears, but they're the only werebears in like the entire game.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Just like they have the entirety of space and the entirety of whatever the fuck they want to do. Like,
they looks like they did. It does look like some pretty interesting alien designs, to be honest.
Yeah, like alien animals is it
like that land octopus looked pretty funky. It literally looked like an octopus, but it's just walking around. Now I'm just imagining an octopus literally standing up like a briefcase, just walking.
But I hope
like
they
checking
don't
his
kind of
watch,
leave it.
or checking his multiple watches. He's got, like...
Yeah, I hope they didn't spend like tons and tons of time on like tons of like passive animals. Some of them are like aggressive, like carnivore animals. And I hope they didn't just kind of leave it there. I hope they just basically I don't know. I hope they added shit tons of enemy types. Just absolutely motherfucking tons of enemy types. I think that would be really cool. Because also, so far, other than maybe one or two carnivorous animals, it's all just been fellas in suits. That's all that we've been shown them like killing, right? It's
I've seen like glyphid looking aliens inside buildings. Like I've seen that, and I thought, okay, good. That's
so that's like it, right? It's like people in suits with guns, and then like the occasional alien, undescript alien. Like I don't know, man.
I mean, that's interesting. That seems pretty inevitable, though. I just don't see what else. What I don't really know what you mean. It's like, yeah, guys and aliens. What is it? Is it too many guys?
It's just that the guys are all just going to be people with guns, right? Some of them are going to be slightly tankier, but that's essentially going to be it. And then the aliens are just going to be animals. There's not going to be like we've yet to see like, I don't know, ranged animals like spitters. Let's go with for Deep Rock examples,
or conjurers, right? Someone as in they're human or humanoid characters who, if takes obviously Skyrim is just the obvious frame of reference. They are humans or humanoids, elves, wizards who summon other creatures. What's that going to be? But there are robots, so
yeah. I guess robots actually fair enough as well, yeah. But the robots could get hopefully a lot more interesting than just people, like just people but robot. Hopefully it's like robots, but some of them are people size.
Well,
but even
I'm
then
trying
have,
to conceive the summoner substitute, and to me it must be someone who like just commands like drones or something.
Yeah, that.
either they have like pets essentially, if it's biological, or maybe they have created like a bunch of drones. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like I hope it's just not like guys with guns, animals that just attack you with melee attacks, and then like robots which are just guys with guns but robots.
Well,
Like, I hope
at the
it
very
gets
least,
more
it needs to
interesting.
be crossover between aliens and people. I don't want to
Like an
only ever be
person.
encountering them separately. You know? Needs to be some kind of. I mean, I don't know how you would do that. I guess because it kind of just seems like the hostile aliens, are probably just hostile to everyone. So, I mean, the best thing. I mean, I hope it's some kind of like parasite alien. I guess it's like taking over people, and then it has like a
If they don't
combination
do
of the
that,
two.
that would be fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the thing. But yeah, well, I haven't really gotten any indication of like a crossover between like aliens and people as enemies. You know, working together in any kind of way, or encountering both hostile aliens and people at the same time. I feel like I haven't seen that.
Yeah, so
A bit
far, for all I
worrying.
can tell, is it's going to be like enemy people that's shooting at you, and chances are, since you're normally a good guy, they're like pirates or like bandits or like whatever the space equivalent of those are. We've seen the bounty hunters. If you have a certain thing, they come, which essentially just people with guns, but they're called bounty hunters, so they're different apparently. Um, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what Bethesda does, though. It like, literally one of the biggest ways they market, and one of the easiest ways to call them out for being liars, even though it's not really lying, is the way they kind of just rebrand things and treat it as if it's new. When it's just a rebrand, it's just like, oh, we have these new bounty hunter characters who do insert role of hired thugs from Skyrim, but it's just like the difference is that they're in Starfield, basically. You know,
Yeah.
they treat it as new because it's a new game. That's kind of what they do. They reintroduce pretty much everything that they normally do as if it's some kind of new system, and
Just
it's really
Yeah, and I
weird.
think I just want to kind of because it is kind of difficult to picture like, but how else would you do it since they've always kind of done it this way? But I think you just need to differentiate them in some way, and I think bounty hunters should work in the higher your bounty, the more equipped they are. Like the better armor, the better guns, maybe even more of them, right? So like they genuinely escalate in difficulty, and bounty hunters only the higher your bounty, because the higher your bounty, the better the bounty hunters that are going to go after you, right? Only the higher tier bounty hunters are going to go after you. If you have a high bounty and like a group of 3 schmucks with pistols come at you, they're fucking stupid, right? If for the example of bounty hunters, you could get pretty interesting with that kind of stuff. Like they could be the active punishment for having a high bounty. I doubt they do that. I bet you it's the same amount of schmucks with the same fucking weapons, where it's just going to scale to your level, not to your bounty. Um, and I don't know. That's why I'm not. I mean, I'm gonna play it. I am definitely gonna play it, and I'm probably gonna play it a lot. But I'm not hyped for it because I do not expect it to be that good, to be revolutionary, to be that interesting. I expect it to have a lot of content. I expect to enjoy making a character, and that's pretty much about it. And I expect to have occasional funny encounters, and intend to talk to you about it. And I think that would be quite fun. But as far as interesting battles and dynamics between characters and mechanics, I don't expect that, and I never have from Bethesda because they're just not capable of it. It's just not who they are. They don't think that deep. They think amount. They think quantity, and quality and interest and variety comes after. And I don't know. That's yeah. Um, I don't know. It's just one of the reasons why. Yeah, I just need to hope that the parts I care about are good. Which is why the only things I truly care about is the new progression system, which looks interesting, if anything. I've tried to avoid looking at the actual skills that they have, but I do like the system where now it's like you get a perk point or whatever, you get a skill point, and then you have to do that thing enough times to then unlock the next one. I think that would be fairly solid.
I
I
mean,
think
it's not actually. It's aside from it just being stated, it's not actually that different from usual. I mean, Skyrim,
it is
you level up by
fairly.
doing the thing. You level up the thing by doing the thing.
Yeah, but in Fallout you don't.
No, I didn't think
So
Fallout did that. Yeah.
yeah, and in Fallout you can do whatever you want and put your points wherever you want. It doesn't matter. In Skyrim you would have to use that thing. Like if you want to get good at two-handed, you have to use two-handed a lot. But also, I mean, I don't know. It's I I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting and it's different, which is nice. Because having the two games being pretty, being the only two ways you level up or do stuff in Bethesda games was kind of limiting, you know. So now there's something different.
I'm not
which
sure
is
how
why
I
I'm
feel
looking for.
about it being a pretty sort of strange version of sci-fi. Right? As in, some things do this, but it's actually not that common where it's still just only humans as the only intelligent species.
Yeah.
Because
Well, I
it
think
is
that's what
that.
everyone theorizes the plot is going to be. Like, the only thing we know of the story so far is you start as a miner, you touch the gravity funky artifact, and then you go to the gravity artifact people, and
Wow.
you start looking for more. Um, that's like the only thing we know so far, and I think anyone knows. Like, they've not really spilled it to like anything. Um, but it's not implied that there's going to be actual sentient aliens, but it would just be weird if there
No,
wasn't.
there
Really?
aren't. There aren't.
Yeah,
It's pretty clear that there aren't.
not casually, but we might discover them through the
Oh,
story.
yeah,
People theorize,
yeah.
uh, which I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, I don't know
I
what to
think
make of it as like a form of sci-fi. I mean, I guess they're all interesting in their own way. And I guess it's more common than not to have multiple intelligent species. I guess the point is more so for it to be very much so from humanity outwards. Like Mass Effect is very holistic in terms of they're pretty much all treated equally, from the game's perspective at least. In fact, humans are arguably on the back foot as like a species in Mass Effect.
well, in Mass
Um,
Effect, as far as I could gather, I mean, each race there's a lot of racism generally, but like humans are actually treated really well from what I've seen. Like they apparently, the council really likes humans for no good
but they're
reason. They're
not.
like
They're
the
not
newest kid
the
on the block.
They're not like the pinnacle of like of anything at all. They're not really the
No, they're not because
majority.
they're the newest. They're like brand fucking new. They're like the most recent addition to the to like the council and all that. And obviously not in the council, but to like the Citadel, like the newest entry within like I think only 100 years or 40 actually maybe one or the other. But like yeah, they're brand fucking new, and yet they're already like have a human as a specter, which is like unheard of. And then you have like the Voral, the small guys with the gas masks, who were like literally there from like the beginning, helped them the entire time, and they're like not even on the council, let alone Spectre. Not that they could have a Spectre, they're not really that kind of race, but they've been accused of preferential treatment essentially, because of how well humans are treated, and especially after the second game, they're in the council. Point is, that kind of stuff cannot be done in Starfield. It's just going to be people politics. And they're not going to touch people racism because that would be a landmine. But alien racism is fair game most of the time.
But it's also not
probably
racism. It's not going to be. It's not going to be like xenophobia or anything because it's just like animals. You know,
yeah, exactly.
it's different.
It's going to be
It's
like
not
some
people, and I think that's what I find slightly interesting in that it's entirely from humanity's perspective. It's like humanity branching out and expanding and exploring a universe, or I think in this case, just a galaxy,
like,
and discovering all this
quotation
stuff. But with there's no other. They don't discover a different perspective. They don't discover another species that they can communicate with. It's entirely from their own perspective, and I hope that they are like aware of that and actually play into that. That it's basically
Also,
humanity. It's humanity's take on all of these different places. There's no like aliens that they can communicate with and get their input. It's still just humans. It's
are like all humans as well, right?
yeah,
Like you got like I don't know. Let's go with the main cast, the main crew, which is just going to be a bunch of like artifact hunters. Then I think you've got like the basic army of like the main giant city, and then I know you've got like at least the pirate ones, right? There's the pirate sect, and they're all people, and so like you could have portrayed them as like different types of aliens, the more peaceful kind, the more aggressive kind, but they've kind of just been like, no, people, like people are capable of all those things, which is true. Like there is an argument that you don't need aliens to tell the story, but either way, they're not going to be that big of a role,
yeah.
even if they are in the game.
Well, I don't think it's much. I don't think personally. I don't see it as much of a cop out anyway. It's not like Bethesda up to old tricks again, being lazy. It's like I I don't think I haven't seen that take either. By the way, to be fair,
Yeah.
but the reason I personally don't see it that way is because it feels like a deliberate choice. Personally, you look at Elder Scrolls. It's filled with all these different species. To me, it feels like a very deliberate take on. Like their take on sci-fi feels very deliberate. They even have basically their own term for it that they've coined, which is like NASA punk, for the aesthetic at least.
Even Fallout had like ghouls, which are essentially a different race, and like
Yeah,
super mutants.
yeah.
So this is really the first time since that everyone is just a person, just a human, just kind of on the same playing field, same kind of thing. Um,
I think that's because
so
it's almost meant to be more humanity as we are now, but just sort of I guess just thrown into the future or thrown into the galaxy, rather than it's not alternate history and it's not fantasy either. It's just an imagining of our future rather than anything else. Fallout is completely alternate history, and then Elder Scrolls is just complete fantasy. Whereas Starfield is like it's basically it is us, it is humanity as we are
and
now,
that was what they
but
were
just
trying to do,
imagining how humanity as it is in the present day in our version of reality, how we would respond to a universe that we expand out into.
That's also what they were doing. Like when they were talking about like really early on, it was like they were studying actual NASA stuff so they could try and like figure out how that technology would advance and look in the future. Like it is their genuine prediction as to what our future would look like genuinely, like technologically wise as well. They tried to kind of translate that, which I don't know. I think I'm not sure it's going to pay off because I find the style quite boring. Like the guns look so fucking bland. Um, like Jesus Christ, it's all like mil spec, or like all of the
You
most
said you
boring
liked Milk
stuff.
Spec recently, you
Yeah,
fiend.
I like the green that only using mil spec without a thing gives you. Plus this kind of silencer parts to it, I actually kind of like. But as far as like, if you had mil spec with ghastly pale, I couldn't think of a worse fucking gun. And that's all of them. That's all of the guns, which is why, and even the melee weapons don't look that great. Because normally, and I would say this is the same in Fallout. If there are guns, the melee weapons are an afterthought. They are not the focus. You're just not really gonna have much stuff catered towards you, which is why I'm doubling down and I'm using my fucking fist.
Mitts. Yeah.
Uh,
Hell yeah.
and melee the shit out of all of them, and there's very little they can do to stop me. And if anything, apparently they seem to be encouraging, which is nice and different than Skyrim, because Fallout 4 actually did encourage unarmed. They
Well,
actually
exactly.
had
I mean,
some
that's the
unarmed.
difference between that's the difference between the way they handle progression. I mean, Fallout is attribute points, so you can just put it into any attribute. But in Skyrim, for example, the skill trees would encompass. You could get multiple attributes out of all the different skill trees, really. Like even just like two-handed, which might sound fairly specific. Well, it's just like, well, two-handed encompasses bladed and also blunt weapons, which could be separate attributes in a game like Fallout.
Yeah,
And I guess they just didn't have any. They didn't see any room for an unarmed skill because there would never be an unarmed skill tree. So unarmed is the kind of thing that has to be an attribute almost, which is why Fallout can encompass it. So does that mean is Starfield looking a bit like almost not exactly a middle ground, but does it look like it's incorporating both?
feels like it with the new system they aren't like limited like they are in Skyrim, and also as much as they are in like Fallout. It feels like they have an entire new system where they can build it to whatever they need it to do, right?
Tyler,
Like if
that's the corporate speak. It's probably not an entirely new system, like I established.
no, yeah,
It's probably
but,
built very much so on the back of other systems.
but
As in,
it's,
one thing entirely new is not true. It would be
no.
built off of something at least.
Well, yeah, but it's like it's not forced to be the same kind of thing or be an evolution of something, right? It's not like you can't, and they haven't. Like in Fallout 4, they could have literally just used Skyrim's version of leveling up, right? They could have just taken that. Like ditched all of the Fallout and New Vegas type of leveling up and just used that, but they didn't. They didn't really keep threes either, or New Vegas's. They changed it a fair amount, but they kept the special system. They kept those kind of skills, right? Like they know what kind of system they want to level up and how that kind of works in both of those franchises. But Starfield has no like past forcing. They are modern day able to decide how do we think is like the best way of leveling up essentially. And if that wasn't what they were thought, they were doing it wrong, because that you wouldn't want to think of the not best way. Like they were probably thinking, without any backing forcing us to make certain decisions, we can truly decide how we want to create a new leveling up system. And they seem to like challenges is one of the choices, which I guess means that they like the players playing the way the game would, like the way your skills would want you to, right? Like Skyrim, they like that part of Skyrim, it seems, where like if you want to get better in two-handed, you need to use two-handed, unlike Fallout, where you could do whatever the fuck you want and then upgrade whatever the fuck you want. But they seem to like that part. But they also you don't need the XP to do it. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Like you can get the XP to level that skill up however the fuck you want. But once you've got that skill, you need to do it a little bit to unlock the next one. So it seems like a middle ground. Point is, this is the part I'm interested in. This really is. That and character creation, which actually seems all right. Not graphically, it looks kind of bad graphically, but
What, the actual people, like the models?
yeah. Have you seen the facial hair?
Not particularly.
When they showed that?
I can imagine facial hair being, because it's just like facial hair seems to be bit like miss quite often for certain things. It always just stands out weirdly, like
Mass Effect didn't even fucking try it. It's like,
what?
They didn't even fucking like. I mean, they got facial hair, but it's like best you got is stubble. Like that's the furthest along you can go.
What?
Like,
that's not facial hair. That's not. What do you mean? You can't have a beard.
No beard in Mass Effect. You can't even have long hair.
I didn't mean what? I thought
really
I was talking about Starfield. But no one mentioned what.
Oh no, I was saying in this is an example of facial hair being not great. Like Mass Effect, literally you can't even have any. But I think in that you probably can get a beard. They don't show all of it, but
yeah,
it's probably not that big of a beard.
No,
they're not known for that large of a beard.
No.
No Deep Rock, no Valheim.
No.
But yeah, otherwise I think the character creation looks pretty solid. And then character creation in both looks wise and like backstory and like skills and all that stuff wise, and then ship creation I'm all looking quite forward to. They're some of the main things.
I can't see myself being able to make a good looking ship. That's the thing. I'm not good at when it comes to making it out of like separate components as well. I mean, I don't know. I kind of tend to fall apart when I have to do something like that.
With those kind of things,
presets, to be honest,
I'd have to like wait a while unless everything's there at the beginning. I'm not gonna bother until like it's all there. Like I'm gonna have whatever the ship that whatever is the most easiest and advantageous, like max cargo or max like defense, whatever that kind of thing is. Just focus on that. Don't care about looks until like I have everything available, like everything unlocked. If you have to unlock stuff, or like a shopkeeper that actually has all of the ship parts, something like that. If that's all there from the beginning, it'll be a matter of affording it, which I don't think I will be because they look pretty fucking expensive when it showed it. Like a lot of money to customize your ship or like make your ship.
You can bypass that by paying for it in the store.
That would be wild.
I'm going to attempt to make the most cubic ship possible, or spherical, either one.
Just an orb,
or just a big disc, or a pyramid, just like a really clear, like rudimentary shape.
Yeah,
but not like a ship shape. Not ship shape.
Not in ship shape.
No, just like a very distinct shape that a ship probably shouldn't be. You know, it's just like that's just a bowl. That's not a spaceship. That's a
Semicircle.
that's a cylinder. A semicircle. A crescent would be pretty cool. Crescent's actually not a cool shape for a ship, actually. Especially when it's like when the points of the crescent are facing forward, and it's like
Yeah.
the cockpit in the middle. That's pretty good. I want to do that. Maybe. Or like a big cheese wedge, like a Pac-Man.
So far, they've only shown like the ones they've shown are either really kind of bad or are like goofy. That's really it.
Yeah.
They've actually yet to show, I would say, an actual cool looking ship.
I hope I can
well.
make one that's basically just like a fighter ship. That's what I would want. Basically, I don't want space. I just want to be as quick and as deadly as possible. That's what I want. And I don't know if you can really do that. I don't know how far it goes. I don't know if it's like a minimum like size.
I've yet to see like a really small front.
Yeah, they all seem pretty bulky.
Yeah, because that's the issue with the they kind of want it to be realistic, right? With the whole NASA punk, which I don't think would allow a cool looking ship, like genuinely, like I don't know. I mean, you would thought that spaceships would have had to have had a pointy front, considering that's what we're currently sitting on.
What? Wait, what? Because it needs to be aerodynamic.
Yeah.
No, Tyler. No.
What about
that doesn't make any sense?
To land?
Yeah, I guess, but it's spaceships. Also,
Yeah,
there's no flying them in atmosphere. So you land and it's like a loading. Like you don't fly the ships manually in atmosphere.
You landing and flying out is a cutscene. There is no atmospheric coming down like in No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
There is a definite map where you would look at the planets and then like fast travel to them. There has to be a point in time where you fly through space, or else there would be no time for space combat. Either that means that like as you're fast traveling, it would interrupt you with a flight, or you, other than going between systems, like you would fly into a system like Sol for like us here, like the sun and all the planets, and then you would fly between the planets like manually, or I don't know. I don't know when you would fly, but you definitely have to.
Exactly. There must be some kind of traversing asteroid fields or things like that.
But I know for a fact landing on the planet and leaving the planet are cutscenes.
Yeah, I personally think NASA missed it. I think that's to me that's pretty important. Honestly, that was my favourite thing about No Man's Sky. The little I played.
I agree with you. I do think that's the step up that No Man's Sky would have, but I think that's just because like No Man's Sky kind of better. Like, No Man's Sky will be better at that kind of thing. Yeah. It just will be. It will always be better at like being kind of more doing whatever the hell you want within that kind of sandbox thing.
Yeah, it's more of a sandbox, isn't it?
Yeah. Like you can mine terrain like physically, not just like that. But the Starfield looks like it's going to be a lot more traversing what they've given you. With what they've given you, and an RPG. It's gonna have a lot more RPG elements.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about like the planets and like the number of things. It was one of the great tragedies of modern gaming. Actually, was No Man's Sky launch and the overpromise. Although it does actually have like 10 quintillion planets now or something, but it's like people bring up the number like, oh, Starfield's like No Man's Sky's got like 10 quadrillion planets. It's like, yeah, but they're not manually created, are they? Like that's what. And also, not are most of Starfields, by the way. And it's just, I guess people need to understand. Well,
this is something I saw a video. I didn't see a video. I saw a thumbnail on, but I didn't think it was going to have like any evidence. It was just someone arguing for it. But like, there is a very genuine argument that there is no way in hell it's as bad as we think it would be. Because ultimately, the first issue they should run across is how do you make such a giant game with so many planets not feel empty?
Well,
that would have to be the first thing they do.
Well, step one in that is understanding that you can't do that. Step one is understanding that you cannot make every square mile, being generous, of a planet interesting. barely been able to do it with a full-sized human, real size city. Barely. It's not impossible. You have to do it. You have to take a completely different approach, and that's why
they've
this
already
says
done some of that.
there's only very specific curated areas on each planet. I don't know how much it goes. I don't know if there's procedurally generated space between curated areas on the same planet, or if it's like all contained within one boundary. I'm not sure.
Because I think that's the other thing is that when they mentioned like you don't have a land vehicle, and this is because they don't really want you walking off, right? Like you can walk off, but that's really not what they want. Like if you want to go somewhere else, on the same planet, get in the ship, do the cutscene, fly over either manually or fast travel. I'm not sure. I don't think anyone's sure. And then land cutscene, and you're there. They don't actually want you to cross that area. And I'm not sure if that's because it is literally empty. There's nothing there. There's no point doing it. Like if it's not somewhere you could fast travel to on the map, it's not actually anything there. Or it's just because it would take you literally years because you're walking and there's no paths. And so I think that's something they try and did, where basically you skip the parts where there's nothing there. Plus, they've ruled off a bunch of planets. That they mentioned that there are the planets with no animals on. Not all planets have animals on. They're not all in the golden zone, which I think might have been a notch to No Man's Sky because they do all have animals on, but that might just been nothing. But so basically, there will be planets with no animals, and then there'll probably also be like nothing on them as well. Like there's definitely no scripted anything, but probably like just empty planets because there would be.
There's a bit of a recent discovery on this front, and it's sort of been treated as like an exposed thing by some people, the people who are trying to like bring the game down, whatever. Where it's like, if you outside of the curated areas, is where it's procedurally generated, as far as I understand, but that only carries on for about 10 minutes worth of like running. After that, you just run into like an invisible wall, basically. There's only a limited amount of procedurally generated because, there's no point rendering an entire planet. It's impressive to me that they even bothered to render 10 minutes worth outside of like the actual areas where there is anything.
Did they mention if that in those 10 minutes are there things there? Like, do you bump into like something?
No, it's just terrain. It's just procedurally generated terrain. No, like nothing you can interact with, as far as I can tell.
Probably mining, I assume.
Maybe
minerals and that.
Probably, probably. But it's just like people really expect, and then people try and say that they actually did promise the ability to walk around an entire planet, but it's just like, why they didn't actually? By the way, those words were never spoken. To be fair, and it was only very loosely implied. But it's just like that would be pointless anyway. To be honest. That's not me defending them. That would be a pointless thing to do, and they don't need to render entire planets.
They obviously discourage doing that with no land vehicles, but I think that there should be things out there. Like I would imagine this. I should picture this as like an area, right? Like you've landed in an area, and that area should be as full as they can make it. Really, like there is an invisible wall around. But like, if you spend 10 minutes and you walk off in a direction, you should bump into something or two. I think that should be a thing. Even if if you like fly in on there for a reason, right? You've got to like capture a base or some shit for like some mercenaries. Let's go with that. You do that. That should not be the only thing in the area, right? If you want to wander off, you should find some random other couple things every so often.
Well,
just by walking around.
The problem with that, not necessarily the problem, but the thing about that is, it's probably one of the very clear strengths of a lot of their games is actually the world being quite compact and dense. You don't actually walk for even minutes at a time without finding something. In Skyrim, if you walk always something on your radar at least. You're never I don't think it's actually possible to have nothing there. It might be, but it's so densely populated that, but at the same time, I've heard them talk about wanting to convey sort of the loneliness of space and a feeling of isolation. And I think it needs to spread things out more anyway, even on the landmasses themselves. Obviously, there's a lot spread out across multiple planets. It's already almost good enough, but I very much so like the idea of there being actual things that were deliberately placed there that are like almost miles away from the rest of like the main like dense areas. Because that's just kind of cool, basically. Like the best
exactly.
Skyrim really gets the best Skyrim really does with that. I mean, I actually think Fallout does it. Like Fallout 3, I actually got this feeling a couple of times, but Skyrim is probably literally just the Dawnstar prison, like the chill, probably the furthest out thing from anything that you can go. Well, there's actually still stuff.
Yeah, and even then, there are some more things over there, like the guy who's studying the Dwemer cube with the Mayor's Moor, and that's out there somewhere, right? Like even in the most barren area, there is like at least 5 to 10 things, I would think. And also like a couple encounters. I think there's like or these like hawkers spawn out there, some bollocks like that. And I feel like if in like I don't know, in an area there's like only like the thing you came there to do in that area, and like maybe mining minerals out in some caves out there, that's not great. That's quite bad, I would say, because at that point it is essentially a level in a game, right? Like you load in, you do that objective, like you storm that base, and you are now done, and then you fly off. That was a level. It's not an open world game at that point, and I would argue it barely is. Like Starfield is barely an open world.
Yeah, I do wonder if it's actually going to feel like one. It's because it's such a different approach to, no. There's been sci-fi RPGs, but they aren't open world. They know they can't be. Mass Effect knows that it can't actually be open world. It has like hub areas, but that's not what Starfield is. Starfield is it is supposed to be an open world game, right? But
yeah, but it's not. The world isn't open, really. Like, or once you land in that area, first of all, there is like walls, but that's not too foreign, right? The world normally has walls. Like in that world, there are like hundreds and hundreds of things to do within that, and the walls are pretty far apart, right? Like the worlds are pretty big. But in these examples, right, like sure, in space there are hundreds and hundreds of things to do, but then you would load in to these single places, right, that you would go to, and then there would be what, one thing to do? That would be disastrous. Like if you load into an area and there is literally only the thing you were there to do, that's bad. That's real bad.
but that might be necessary because of the number of planets, though. Like, maybe not every single one can have something.
That's like the specific thing, right? I'm thinking like the reason you go there is the scripted event. Let's go with right. The reason you're there is like the maybe not inherently scripted. It could be random what's actually there. Like if you're there to raid a bandit camp, let's say, that bandit camp can be whatever it is, but it's going to be a bandit camp. But then like if that's the only thing there, and 10 minutes all around that camp is literally nothing worth exploring for, and then a wall, that's game over. That's not open world. If you have no reason to ever explore anywhere on your feet, it's not an open world. It's levels. It's literally just loading into a level, doing it, leaving.
So then it's I guess if that is the case, then maybe they're going for whatever a space exploration open world game is. You know, it's like I can imagine it being very difficult to conceptualize or even conceive as a game how you make an open world game that takes place across multiple planets.
I think my solution to that would be is that within that 10-minute, like there's the thing in the center, which is the reason you're there, the thing you locked onto to fast travel. That is there. You do that, or maybe you want to do that later, whatever, and you realize you're under-leveled. Maybe go do something else. But within that 10 minutes of each side, there are the randomly generated stuff. Just like it's all randomly generated terrain. But then also within that, they'll occasionally spawn a mining outpost, which you would then do, or a so and so, which you would then do. And there are those things out there. and then you'd hit a wall, and you're like, okay, like,
Yeah.
all right, like, and it wouldn't be that bad. It would not be that bad because there is the entire rest of space to explore. But at least exploring that area, you gain something from it. Like I wouldn't be too disillusioned. But if I spend 10 whole minutes with like I'm gonna walk away from the reason I'm here, and then spend like 10 minutes walking to find nothing except some minerals to mine, and then hit a wall, that would be really bad. But as long as it's like a thing or two that I bump into, it would be fine. But if that's not a thing, then
I agree, but I also think there should be that, maybe on average, but there should also be some planets with nothing, because there also needs to be some with more than just two. There needs to be some planets with pretty big areas that are fairly dense, like like Solstheim-sized areas.
Yeah. Yeah, the more barren planets have like the thing you're there for, and that's like basically it, other than like minerals, right? But then the more like lively ones with like animals and that, right? Because that's the thing. If there are animals, yet there is no reason to explore, you're never going to find those animals. There must be a reason to walk around, other than the place you just landed at.
Well, yeah,
there has to be.
So this is something that does annoy me actually about it, because I mean I'm kind of against this idea in general, but it's sort of needed, and as in it's needed in this case. Starfield is a kind of science fiction thing that needs gimmick planets, really, to make them interesting, because you can't. It's not the kind of, when you're dealing with a game that's trying to present thousands of planets, right? They can't all be individually diverse. They need to be distinct from each other. It's like we talk about it being one of the best decisions that Ghost Ship made, for example, on Deep Rock, was deciding to keep it all in one planet, because the truth is one planet can sustain enough diversity. All the diversity you need. Yes, but the gimmicks within themselves, but most sci-fi sort of goes for gimmick planets, and the truth is Starfield actually needs that, in my opinion. But I haven't seen like a very obvious like ice planet or like lava planet, but that's what I think it needs, to be honest.
Yeah,
I want to see that. And
I've seen desolate planet.
I reckon there isn't a lava planet. I feel like they would have shown that by now. So that's pretty worrying.
They do like that kind of cinematic, but honestly, they might pull a thing where it's too unrealistic, right? Like they're not going to colonize on a planet that dangerous, so why would there be some reason to go there?
That would be to me that would be realism clashing with just
I already think they're doing that, but yeah.
Yeah, I think they're already doing that in some aspects, to be honest, and that will probably be a thing. And I can't tell if that's like a very clever ploy to like not try as hard. I don't think so, personally, but I think it's possible. That kind of scares me. I mean, anything is possible in that regard.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I expect to play it. That's all I
expect to play it.
Yeah. I like play it. I mean like play it. I mean like probably I won't stop playing it for like 3 to 4 days minimum. Like I don't expect to play anything else. And if I do, that's bad. Because
that's fine. I mean, I don't expect myself to get hooked, because it's just kind of not how I operate.
No,
I don't think I'm going to. I can see myself struggling to play it day one anyway. Well, that's a more. Yeah, that's a different reason actually. There's a different reason for that.
It's coming out at like 1 a.m. for us. Which essentially, I'm not sure if that means it's 1 a.m. the morning of, or that means it's coming out on the 7th. I think it's the morning of.
We should be able to find that out. I mean, obviously, if everyone knows the actual release date. Starfield launch details on the Bethesda website. Yep, September 6th. Global release timing. Okay, it's asking me to enter my date of birth. I feel like I don't need to do that. A bit odd.
Oh, Starfield, your date of birth, Harry.
Okay. Yeah, that was so weird. I enter my date of birth and it just shows me a map. That's bizarre. That's really bizarre in my opinion. And also,
They have
I'm
enough
just
information to know where you live.
yeah, but it doesn't tell me where I live. It just shows me a map of the world. It's completely non-specific. I just had to enter my date of birth to see it for some reason. London time, 6th of September, 1 a.m. So yeah, on the day.
Basically, you wake up and then it'll be ready.
It'll be there. I mean, I haven't downloaded it yet, so
Well,
that's something.
you've still got a little bit of time.
Yeah, I know. Imagine it took that long. I mean,
Well, you know, I mean, tomorrow's a week.
yeah. No, you Dwimbit. No, comes out on Wednesday.
And day after tomorrow.
That's right. That's right. Fool. You darn fool.
Oh,
my God.
Well, when this video is going out, it would have been yesterday. Yeah.
That's true. It is yesterday, actually. Sorry. So 6 days from now. That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure we actually mentioned this. This is slightly pre-recorded, so if any more news has come out, soz.
Well, the reason I didn't, because the truth is, it doesn't make sense to say that, because no one ever says that, because 90% of videos on this platform are pre-recorded. So they usually don't clarify that. I guess because we sort of basically are telling ourselves that when we do it, really. It's like, it's just weird, we're pre-recording, it's not the day that it's coming out. And I bet most people are thinking, well, yeah, right? You're not like recording and uploading the same day, are you, every time? Well, not recently. I've been recording a lot of stuff in advance, actually. It's been weird. You're
gonna be you're gonna be at that thing for one day, and you're gonna have so many things done in advance, you're gonna be really thrown off. Like, you're gonna be there, but you don't have anything to record. Yeah.
Well, not quite. Not quite. I mean, I've got like a week technically. That's actually it though. A week plus one other thing. Yeah. We told Pound's a liar.
I think he gets. I think honestly, I think he doesn't know what's in the game until it occurs.
I think he does. He's the game director.
Yeah, exactly. He knows what he wants to be in the game.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he knows what's in the game.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I mean, I like him. He seems like a guy. You know what I mean?
He'll always have the points that he doesn't crunch. That's like immediately he's better than like most higher ups in companies of his size. Right?
Yeah, I mean, something I've sort of heard is that despite what people may see, how people may perceive Bethesda as a part of the industry, something that seems to be pretty like just a thing is that it's like a good company, like if you were to work for, which is commendable, I guess.
It's really the bare minimum nowadays, but you've got to commend it.
Well, yeah, you got to commend the bare minimum. I mean, something that you said recently I thought was quite agreeable. I agreed with it. He basically said that they announced Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield at the same time. It was back in E3 2018, and that's when they probably announced Starfield. But they also announced Elder Scrolls 6, and he said recently that he sort of regrets announcing Elder Scrolls 6 in that way, right? Where it was kind of really wasn't the right move to have even though it didn't show anything, they still had a trailer for it, It's the kind of thing that shouldn't have had an announcement trailer. It should have just been like, oh yeah, well, we're working on Elder Scrolls 6. Like, yeah. But instead it had like this hype in the moment, and he sort of built up to them showing the trailer. When that's not really the right idea, when it was so far away from even being worked on. That's the thing. They chose to announce it, but before it was actually in like the pipeline of being worked on. It's only because they knew they were going to do it. And he basically said it should have been more subtle, like Fallout 5, which is obviously even further away. But, it was around that time that he fairly casually mentioned that Fallout 5 would be the next game after Elder Scrolls 6. And that's kind of how they should have done Elder Scrolls 6. He just sort of casually mentioned it would be the next game after Starfield, rather than making a big announcement, which suddenly it's on people's minds now. Elder Scrolls 6 should not be on people's minds at the moment. That's the truth of it. It should, but it's been both Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 have been on people's minds equally since they were both announced, really.
Or I would say further, I think like when that occurred, what were people talking about? It wasn't Starfield.
No,
Just wasn't.
and yet they
Everyone
reinforced,
was
but they
like, Elder Scrolls
reinforced
6.
that. They reinforced that by announcing it rather than just announcing Starfield
Yeah.
and shifting attention. So now Elder Scrolls 6 is going to have
And I
been
think-
on people's minds for way too long by the time it comes out.
Yeah, and
Unlike
it's been on
Starfield,
their
which
minds
I
since
think
Skyrim.
Starfield has been, in the zeitgeist for the right amount of time. Personally, it's been pretty reasonable.
It's only blown up like fairly recently.
Yeah,
No
detail
one
was
really
only
talked or
really
gave a shit about it. until, like,
detail
last
was
month or
only
so.
really started to come out like last year. That's the truth of it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the right amount of time. The Elder Scrolls is just completely unrealistic. You know, it's even worse than say something like Cyberpunk. I think, although actually probably not. I mean, Cyberpunk was announced before The Witcher 3 came out, so not too dissimilar actually. Which is worrying. We don't want that to be similar to Cyberpunk in that sense.
Once again, Elder Scrolls I have even less faith in, to be honest with you, because it's too much. That legacy is too much. There is no universe where they meet the standards that people have for Elder Scrolls 6. It's just not happening.
I think it's not. I think it's expectations. I mean, it's not actually standards. Standards are a little bit different, in my opinion. I mean, yes, both certainly, but it's like a hype level more than
At
anything.
least no one knows what to expect from Starfield. Like, no one's disappointed in the next installment of a franchise they like because this is the first installment of a franchise. They don't know whether
so
they like it.
in that sense, then, do you actually think there is much to the idea that like Starfield is like the supposedly the last straw or whatever? Do you think that's actually a thing? Because I think it isn't inherently, in my opinion. It's not definitive. It could be, but I don't think it's automatically like their last
it's
straw.
not any kind of last straw. Like I used my finger apostrophes, not that you could see it, but like it's not like if Starfield fails, it's not like we're not gonna then get an Elder Scrolls 6, right? Or even a Fallout 5, right? If Starfield is a terrible game, like even worse than we were expecting, like you're not expecting anything as you would say, but you're expecting it to at least be a playable game with an amount of content in, right? If it's not even that, then even then Elder Scrolls 6 is going to come out. I just think it is the last straw for the fan base that, and it probably not that much, but even then it is like, if this is not good, what should we have faith in? Like if Fallout 4, let's go with like Deep Rock analogy. Fallout 4 is a bit like Season 3, or maybe Season 4 if you want to be kind. It is the hold on, they're not as perfect as we once assumed release. And if Starfield is,
Well, you know what's really gross? If you want to be a real arsehole, and I will be for a moment, if you wanted to put forward some kind of analogy that actually worked, like from Season 1, it's like Season 1 is Skyrim, Season 2 is Elder Scrolls 9, Season 3 is Fallout 4, Season 4 is Fallout 76. So,
yeah, I mean, you could do that, and I think
some people might agree with that, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think Elder Scrolls Online is not very nice thing to say about Season 2, but obviously
it's a horrible thing to say.
Minority.
I think Fallout 76 is a horrible thing to say about Season 4.
Yeah, but it does get the point across in the quality or perceived quality is declining, and the unwavering faith that we had in a once pristine, but I mean, not into Bethesda that much, but it's generally that people have in a idyllic game company is waning. And I think both Starfield and both Season 5, if it performs poorly, that could be the end of them being seen as this ideal, perfect company that makes good games. Like, I think this is, and I think just focusing more on the Bethesda side of things, Starfield being bad, it won't inherently break anything because people already perceive Bethesda as being bad, right? As making bad games. That's already a thing people see since 76 and started from Fallout 4, I would say.
And became retroactive as well to The retroactive has gone back. It's gone back to Oblivion, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Not
people
Morrowind though, right? As
noticing
far as I
things
can
that
tell.
aren't great. Well, nobody really gives a shit about Morrowind, and plus people respect Morrowind too much. Anyone that gives a shit about Bethesda to like research all that stuff won't shit on Morrowind that saved the company, right? That's not how it works. Why are you humming? Oh, you're doing Morrowind.
It's the best. Yeah, it's the best version in my opinion. The Morrowind one. I like it a lot.
It was quite solid. Yeah,
Like
but
Oblivion.
Oblivion went too hard. In like it's like too quick. It's weird. Oblivion's weird. It's the one I played the least, which I think is weird. I don't think we played like Morrowind more than Oblivion. I think that's normal.
I don't know which one I played more out, Morrowind or Oblivion. Actually,
Probably
Oblivion.
Yeah.
Probably Oblivion. I would play the shit out of Oblivion. I would play the shit out of Oblivion if the character models were, you know,
I would probably play Oblivion more if it wasn't for the fog.
That's Morrowind.
No, Oblivion has fog.
Morrowind's the fog one, though.
Yeah, but Morrowind is in a smoky, fire volcano mushroom island where the ground is brown and everything is brown, and it's like, yeah, there's gonna be fucking fog. Like it's a death pit. Oblivion is in a wonderful green grassed trees.
I don't remember there being much fog in Oblivion.
Retreat, and yeah, and it's got a massive fucking fog. It don't have a skybox. It's fog. Point is, yeah, I think if Starfield is bad, then people are like, okay, yeah, this is it. Bethesda is bad, probably always has been, and will always be.
It's also their first new world in over 25 years.
Yeah, they do.
I want to remind everyone, it's the first IP created by Todd Howard.
Yeah, well, and I think Todd Howard is also very much put his heart and soul into this. At least it certainly.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about that because I was being a little bit snarky there because obviously, like, you know, Bethesda didn't create Fallout. They did create Elder Scrolls, but that was before Todd Howard was part of Bethesda. But yeah, this is Todd Howard's. This is supposed to be his like sort of baby. Really, it is.
Yeah. And I think it's also a bit unfair to not give credit to Todd Howard making Elder Scrolls. Making Elder Scrolls an actual fucking name with Morrowind.
God's coward.
No one really gave a shit before Morrowind, and then Todd Howard came along and was like, hell yeah. Like, he deserves the rep he has, especially the other side of the rep as well now. But I think this could be interesting. Like, if this game is really good, then that will betray on Todd Howard, right? Like, if this game is good, that means Todd Howard still does have what it takes, right?
He's still got the juice.
His idea, his passion, his dream is worthwhile, and they could execute on it. But if Starfield is just as bad, if not worse, than all the other stuff they've been putting out, maybe Todd Howard isn't inherently the issue, but he's not a solution either. And maybe it's time he would step down. That wouldn't be a extreme shout, I don't think. Obviously, he's done a lot of good, and everyone fucking loves him. He's basically a god. Like, he's like, you know, he's Todd Howard.
Yeah, he's Todd the God Howard.
Yeah,
God's coward.
The Teletubby with a gun.
What?
Isn't that an actual picture of him where he's dressed up as a Teletubby?
What?
I'm not sure he has a gun. Hold on. Todd.
Well, I looked at Todd Howard Teletubby and there's no autocomplete. Oh, I found it! Holy shit, is that him?
Yeah, it is him.
Oh my god. Alright, hold on, I just need to get that in...
Well, the second result is saying, no, it's real. Todd Howard himself dressed up as a Teletubby with a shotgun.
That's incredible. That's just fantastic. I'm going to put it in the podcast. There it is. On screen for everyone to see. We'll put it over you.
And maybe that source was not exactly reliable. It was a 12 upvote comment.
On r/Quake Champions. No, that was 165. Maybe we should look at the Elder Scrolls Reddit. Is there a Starfield Reddit?
I would assume so. Probably for a while now, actually.
Well, someone's made some support to traversal to overclocks.
There was an.
You're supposed to do that.
There was a.
Starfield, 237,000 already. Fucking hell.
There was a Elder Scrolls Reddit for like fucking years and years and years before they even knew that game was being made. Like being made, it said it was being made, and then they no thing.
What? What do you mean Elder Scrolls?
Yeah, the Starfield Reddit was created in 2016.
Huh? It was like a preemptive thing.
Yeah, so people could start talking about it and getting hyped for it.
How was that created in 2016?
I don't know, it was.
It wouldn't have been Starfield then.
Then I don't know.
It would have been something else. Bethesda placeholder Reddit.
Could have been.
What the fuck? Anyway, I really need a piss.
I think that's it. That's us. That's it. That's us.
That's kind of what it was. That's kind of what I was doing. It's like, like I need to go to the toilet and piss out all the lies that Todd Howard has shoved down my throat. Oh right, that was an Instagram comment, not a Twitter one. That's why I didn't show up on Twitter. I made a funny comment I sent someone's way. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this before like it becomes awkward. I probably can't keep talking while looking for it. But I'd like to. We could end it, as in say all the stuff at the end of the video.
All right.
I just don't feel like it does anything though.
What?
Saying things like, "Oh, if you like this, please make sure to."
Really, at the end of the video.
Oh, Willies.
Because anyone that reaches this point are definitely subscribed.
Oh, okay. So here it is. I found it. Want to see the actual post, please? It's actually refusing me to. It's actually refusing to show me the original post.
Ban code.
It's actually really fucking annoying. Is it gone? No. This guy just uploads way too much. Posts way too much. Jesus Christ. Found it. It's like it's literally just a repost of a tweet. It's like just an idea. Hear me out. A reality show where billionaire CEOs have to live off their lowest paid employee's salary for a month. And then some fucking not twink, that's not the right word. Some asswipe had to jump in and say, CEOs did live off that salary. It's like people think Elon Musk woke up a billionaire one day after doing no hard work whatsoever. One of those types. Where it's like, they went through the hard times or whatever. And I just decided.
Some of them did.
I don't even know if this is that clever, but I just felt an impulse to just jump in and just respond to him. I just say, surprised you can say all that with all the shaft you've been throating. Which is basically, all I was trying to really do is actually figure out just a funny way to word that. I don't even think it's that clever. But I'm like implying that he sucks dick because that's obvious. But I thought that was fun. Yeah, Elon Musk and Todd Howard are tight as well. They're buddies.
Yeah,
but not really. No, but like Todd Howard's like visited like SpaceX and stuff, which is not much of a surprise.
He probably would have for Starfield, I imagine.
That's yes. No, it was for
That's it.
Something
End
else.
End of the podcast.
It was... Oh wow. Just me, guys.
Shit.
You're stuck with me now. Just me.
Would that speed up the ending of videos if I just left?
No, clearly not. I would just like hold them hostage. Just
You would just somehow keep going, and I'd like be sitting here. Like, I wonder what you're saying.
I'd start playing balloons and show them.
Yeah, you do that a lot. I'm not surprised.
This is the end. Count to 10 and start
Slightly
again.
irrelevant though. I completed the first Mass Effect, and it's pretty good. Mass Effect's pretty good. I rate it pretty good out of 10.
That's not a number.
Yeah, solid. Very short. Very short.
I don't remember it being that short. I mean, you probably didn't do everything, but
No, because all of the side quests were fucking terrible. Hated it. Anytime I had to explore this giant cube area in that car was a nightmare. Just the worst gameplay known to man. So I kept that to a bare minimum. Basically, I didn't do many of the side quests.
oh no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Basically, you have to it's like, oh, help these people, they're on this planet, and then you go on that planet, and then it's just this like area where it throws you in a car, and it's like, go there and do that thing. And I fucking hate it because it's always terrible and so long and annoying, and it never auto saves. So I stopped doing it, and then I beat the game in like 20 hours.
Not that
like
short.
1930. Yeah, but considering it took me 100 hours to beat Dragon Age 1, you know. Considering
Yeah, I think that's because that licks your balls a little bit harder.
it did, but also like it's because it was better. Because the side quests weren't so terrible that I refused to do them.
I don't really remember that much from the first game in that capacity.
Like you had to
So I can't really comment.
You had to scan 20 keepers. And like good fucking luck finding all of them, right? I found like 17 of them, but that doesn't mean anything because I didn't find all of them, so I didn't finish the side quest. You get rewarded for each one, but still, you don't get like the end reward.
So have you started? Have you started 2 then?
I have, and it's very different, and I'm not sure I like it. It's
No,
not as big.
I
It's not as
found
big
it-
as a downgrade.
Gameplay
as
wise.
Dragon Age. But yeah, I mean, obviously they added ammo, which I'm already not that huge a fan of. They've removed actually upgrading your abilities, or not. Oh, I guess ability is not the right word. Like making your just leveling up essentially. Now you just improve your skills, which I did not really engage with at all last game. So now the only progression system is part of the game that I didn't like, which is not great. I don't think you even get different weapons, do you? There's no actual, find better weapons. They've changed lockpicking into a system that I do not like at all. Like before, it was just to press A, B, or Y, and all that. Now it's like it's pair. It's literally pairs, which is fun and all. Except I have stick drift, and you need to click these tiny little fucking buttons to reveal them. So I've got to press all these tiny little things while my stick drift is going up or down, and it's damn near impossible. So at this point, I'm not fucking doing it. I don't care about the 1,000 or so coins in the crate, especially since I ended one with like 5 mil, probably more even by the end, like probably like 9 mil in the fucking bank because I never needed to buy anything because you always get a good enough shit. You sell everything for a shit ton. Basically, I like the story, I like the characters, and the gameplay is alright. And that's all I really needed. And that's all I really engaged with.
Well, the story pretty definitively gets better. Like the first one is the weakest story wise, for sure.
I already found the beginning of this one is a lot better than the beginning of Dragon Age.
I was going to ask you about the beginning because obviously the beginning of 2 is pretty.
It goes hard.
Yes, it's quite in your ass.
Yeah.
Quite throws you into it.
It's like whatever you expected from the second one. It ain't that.
No.
Well, it kind of is, but it's that, but like 2 years later. Point is, yeah, I don't know. I'm still gonna play it, but I think it's gonna be a better experience than Dragon Age 2. But I got used to not needing ammo. I never really got used to the overheating.
Speaking of overheating, I think Tyler's PC just overheated and he disconnected.
No. The point is, I'm probably going to finish that entire franchise before Starfield comes out.
The point is, I mean, if you can, that's something.
Well, I probably will.
Interesting,
another
starting a
point
major sci-fi franchise so close. I mean, there's another
and
point.
plus, another point is that I didn't fuck anyone in the first game, which is
Idiot.
of note, I think. Well, because the two options both sucked.
No, there's more than one option. There's more than two options. More than two options.
Because in the like comic, the fucking end of it had like the two things, and it was like I didn't do any of them because I didn't. And it was like the blue bitch and the human bitch.
Tali Zora, the Quarian. That's the third option.
She's not an option.
Yeah,
not the first one.
Overall, she is.
I looked it up.
Overall,
she's not an option.
Yeah, but
not in the first game. So I spent all that time talking to her, and nothing came from it.
All right, we'll play it again as a female and bang Garrison.
Garrus?
Yeah.
Nah, fuck him. Rex
What?
or nothing.
What? The fuck did you just say to
not
me?
An option, right?
Actually, no, it's not. No. I mean, come on, they can't. That would be a bit much.
At least you wouldn't have a child.
Well, yeah.
Which I didn't do that, by the way. Not that I ever got a choice. I never got is that the point you mentioned?
No, because that was in the third game.
Okay, good.
No, don't worry.
It was blow them up or nothing. I think the only option was like convincing him not to fucking kill me or kill him, and I managed to talk him down because I'm a renegade, which I'm not actually. I really wanted to be renegade. I wanted to intimidate.
You don't want to be.
But
you don't want to be mean.
So many paragon points. Like I kept saving people, and it kept giving me points, and I'm like, I stop it. like just playing the game normally. Like when you had to like save a bunch of people that are being brainwashed by the giant plant, you could either save them with a grenade or kill them, and I'm like, I'd save them. Just why would I kill them?
Anyway, I do actually envy
when I ran
you
out
for
of
not.
Grenades, I did start killing them.
I do envy you for not picking a romance option. Actually, straight up. I mean, that takes some willpower. I think.
I was trying to. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, it means you get to actually do something interesting, which is not either of them.
Yeah, they fucking suck.
Yeah, well,
she's a bitch. She's called Ashley. I should have let her die. I'm really annoyed that I didn't kill her.
Yeah, I think I might have to next time, especially because like I can't really do that. I mean, especially every time I even played, because I played Mass Effect 3 multiple times before playing those games for the first time, like the trilogy. And I don't, because you get to pick who died. And I always pick Caden because I just heard that he's just boring, and he is boring. But
he is boring.
But
at least he's a bro.
I don't know. He's not a bro. He's a wanker. But the thing is, I guess next time I'm planning on playing as a female, so it would make a little bit more sense. Not that I want anything to do with Caden romantically, but not that one. But yeah, he sucks.
That was the thing.
But Ashley's also, racist, like massively, and I really don't like it.
When the choice appeared, it was a genuine matter of I genuinely don't care.
I mean, it really surprised me because I've never made any indication.
I would have been down for that.
I never made any indication that like Ashley was of any interest to Shepard. Never, and it's like all of a sudden you can choose between two. It's like, what do you mean I have to choose between the two? I've been trying to bang the Aura this whole time.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. She looks fucking nah. None of that. None of that blue shit. I don't get.
But it's a sense of adventure.
I don't get the whole them being sexy part of things. That's not. It's not right. The matriarch, fair enough. But no.
You fucking idiot.
But yeah, Tally or whatever, who you can't even see. Hell yeah. It's all about the voice.
Good man.
It's all about the voice.
Some black guy would be very proud of you.
I'm glad he's got taste.
He's got a tattoo of Tally on his arm, like up his arm. He's actually got a body pillow of her. That's not even a joke. I mean, he kind of got it as a joke, but
it's fair. I mean, she's not the Arnie from Dragon Age, but she's not half bad.
Mm-hmm. This is a very strange discussion because I
strange one to be recording for sure.
I did have I did have something else to say, and I can't remember what it was.
Is it to do with Mass Effect?
What about Miranda?
Miranda?
Oh, have you even met her yet?
Yeah, she's the bitch. I thought Ashley was a bitch.
I thought Ashley was a bitch. Yeah, she's not.
I don't give a fuck. I would rather date a racist than her.
Oh my god!
Jesus Christ, her face screams bitch, and so does Ashley's. In all fairness, but like, no, none of that. I'd rather date like, what was his fucking name? The goofiest shit. The head of the Cerberus.
What? The elusive man.
Elusive man! Holy fucking shit! That name is so fucking goofy.
I love him. I love the elusive man.
Like when I saw when the game started, it had like elusive man and talking, and I was like, okay, they don't want to describe who it is.
Did you like laugh out loud when you realised that's what they call him?
Yeah, when he said, he needs to meet with the elusive man, I was like, I fucking.
It's like fucking Taserface from Guardians 2.
It's like Taserface. Yeah, it's fucking goofy as hell. And then like, there's some other cringe shit as well in 2. Like you can customize your like casual wear, and one of them is like
one of them's terrible.
And he's got like belts on his arm, the most cringe shit ever. And I thought I'm gonna pick this because it's so fucking funny to look at. But I couldn't. The second I saw him pull up in a cutscene with that on, I fucking died of cringe.
Have you met Mordin yet?
I've loaded into the new Normandy for the first time, and I paused and then we.
All right. Okay. All I say is, if you get Mordin killed at any point, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Mordin is the fucking goat.
All I know, like going forward, I know literally one thing. It was when I looked up the Tali thing, I know that she can die, and I really don't want to accidentally do that because I really feel like sometimes just some dissonance occurs, and I do not realize what I'm doing.
I'm not gonna I'm gonna try not to spoil anything, but Mass Effect 2 has it's ridiculous. It's
Is it obvious at least?
No.
No. Oh fuck.
No, I did not know who was gonna die when I did that. I'll say that much. And I think I got Mordin killed and went back to make sure that didn't happen because I couldn't live with that. I couldn't live in a reality where that was the case. It wasn't allowed. Mass Effect 2 has the best character. There's so many others. There's like another character coming up. You're probably going to immediately be like, I want to have sex with this person, but then you find out you can't. Actually, that happens twice in Mass Effect 2.
Is it a dude or like?
No, it's not a dude. Actually, there are a couple dude. No, yeah. Oh, there's an alien he's kind of cool. I mean, there's another female character where it's like you can't romance her because of tragic backstory. Like, oh, you bitch! I'm gonna get you killed in the final mission, and I did.
That's what you get for having sex with me, loser.
Pretty much. Anyway, okay, that's enough of this.
Yeah, space games.
I was going to say one more thing about recent stuff because obviously a lot of this Starfield stuff came out at Gamescom, been happening recently. And you see, the people got on stage and they were trying to be like the kid from last year, and they were talking about Bill Clinton with GTA 6, and everyone was just like, I just wish Jeff Keighley would actually just uppercut these people, like because he just obviously he can't because. There's more than one of them. And obviously, the point is, they know what they're doing, so they're not actually physically harassing him. They're just getting up on stage and being asswipes. So he can't actually, fight back, because they're not attacking him. They're not there to do that. They're just being annoying. But he should be able to just kick them off the stage. That's what everyone just said. He should be able to... He should have, like a chainsaw on hand. He needs it. And yeah, there's another cool thing. Obviously, for some reason, Zack Snyder was there. I mean, mainly because... his these upcoming films is going to have a game attached to it. It's actually pretty cool. It's like his based on his like original Star Wars pitch. which they turned down. But like, obviously, people are like, yeah, turn it down because Zack Snyder's a hack. And it's like, what? Starfield sucks. I mean, Star Wars sucks. I mean, it's not a bad thing they turn it down because it's like, and now he gets to make like a big R-rated like sci-fi epic, whatever. But he also said that he wouldn't mind.
And try and figure out who the characters were going to be in those movies.
Well, there is a character with like two like orange like swords, like laser swords.
So that could have been Ahsoka then, maybe.
What? I know.
Well,
His pitch was completely separate anyway. He didn't want to like use any pre-existing characters anyway.
Right.
And so
That's
they were just
probably
like,
why
it probably was something like, why do you want to do a Star Wars film then? Why don't you just do your own thing? Like, fuck. And it's just like, well, I need money
yeah.
to do it. But now he's got like a good partnership with Netflix, and obviously Netflix are developing like a Gears of War film, right? And he said that he would be interested, maybe. And, you know, it sort of makes me think about things and how stupid people are that they can't acknowledge that if you know anything about Zack Snyder and anything about Gears of War, you'd understand that is maybe the most perfect combination of all time.
The issue is, though, Netflix, Harry. That's the main issue. Netflix.
Yeah, but if they put a guy like, who actually has vision, then first of all, they wouldn't mind using him as a fall guy. First of all, so there's that. But like, there's shit. But also, he got pretty strong direction at least. So I think he'd do perfect, especially because Batista wants to be like Marcus Phoenix.
Batista should be literally every single one of those characters. Every male character in a Gears of War game, Batista should play with just a different wig.
Except Coltrane, who should be Terry Crews.
I guess it would be weird if he did blackface.
Yeah.
But yeah, Batista is built like a Gears of War guy.
Yeah, they're all so jacked. It's so weird. But obviously, that's not everyone, because like the women are like normal size.
Batista is like such a silent grower in like that kind of entertainment stuff. Like he was just a wrestler, and then all of a sudden he's like a movie star. Like straight up, like Glass Onion, Guardians of the Galaxy, recognizable face, well loved. Like just straight up, just all of a sudden.
It's like a sleeper hit because he's not trying that hard. He's just doing stuff that he thinks is actually worth doing.
Yeah,
unlike
he's
The Rock,
getting really good.
unlike The Rock,
really
who's like really pushing. Like The Rock's just always pushing to be like the most famous person. Instead of actually picking like really good roles. Like he doesn't even really pick roles that are good for him necessarily. Like Black Adam wasn't really that good for him. But Batista's actually
big things, right?
Yeah, and it usually doesn't pay off. And that Batista's like it is actually paying off, and he's doing it in a much more profound way, in my opinion. So same with John Cena actually. Although John Cena's a little bit sort of rides both, but John Cena's
Batista. I don't think people even know he was a wrestler. Really,
a lot of people don't. I think a lot of people don't. But he was famous. Famous in the WWE.
Yeah, I knew him before all of this stuff.
I did as well. I mean,
I didn't even know wrestling.
No, I knew him and a couple other people. I didn't actually know about The Rock. I first heard of him as an actor, to be honest, The Rock. Obviously, they are actors in WWE, but let's end this. It's getting ridiculous. We're not talking about Starfield anymore. It's long past, and I think that's not going to change until we've played it. So,
yeah. And when this goes out, tomorrow people will start getting their hands on it, early access.
Yeah, not us though.
Technically speaking, I could get the
don't
upgrade.
Don't you have to pay for it? Do that.
Yeah. But you don't have to get the full-on special edition. There is an upgrade for people that they know damn well are going to get the game.
That will also get you the DLC. I think
it does,
cheaper than it will be.
The issue is if you don't have Game Pass, you will then have the upgraded version and not actually the game, because that's not how it works.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And the upgrade version alone costs £33, which essentially is 2 packs, a DLC, and early access, which is not a great deal. But because they know so many people are already going to have it for free, they're essentially buying the game earlier and full stop, and the DLC for £33, which isn't that bad of a deal. So basically, I was tempted, but I think I'm better than that. Plus, I've got Mass Effect to beat. So
yeah, I want you to at least report back to me when you meet the other Krogan. The other Krogan teammate. I mean, they're separate. It's not like a thing we have to choose. It's like a completely separate thing. You'll probably like him. He's they're both guys,
sorry.
But he's a very different. What? Krogan is Rex. I thought you said Krogan are Nex. I mean, they don't. They got
Right.
fucking wide necks. Yeah, but
They don't have a neck. I think they're just all head.
yeah. God, Mass Effect 2 is the best characters because there's so many of them. So many. It's just all about just building a team, a massive team, and getting them all killed. Get them all,
Yeah.
yeah, not all of them. Okay. Thanks for listening. Thanks for talking, Tyler.
You're welcome.
Thanks for all the horrible background noise.
You're welcome.
It's been gone for over an hour. It's fine, but it was pretty. It was I mean I don't know how bad it is actually in
He's
the
left,
recording,
actually.
but
I'm shocked.
yeah, I don't know why you can't just tape him up.
I might be illegal. I'm not sure if siblings are allowed to assault the other. I think it's a lot more tolerated. I'm not sure if it's legal.
It's a lot more normal, isn't it? It's a lot more normal.
Yeah, but if you take it too far, there's no laws protecting.
Although,
it.
frankly, I think the worst of it really did come from your cats. So
When I was downstairs, yeah. Also, Mitchell's at the door, back from shopping, so I'm going to say
perfect
goodbye.
timing. All right,
Goodbye, everyone. Have fun. Look forward to Starfield. See you in a bit.
now it's just me and you. Bye.